It's a hat trick, John. It's a hat trick. You got a hat. You did a trick. It's a hat trick. You got 3 podcasts in a row.
I know.
It's triple cherries, man.
Yeah.
The fucking we pulled the handle. The coins are spilling out. The guy, he's coming. George Clooney's got a smile like he knows something's going on over on his face.
I just wish I could use my luck for more than just getting on 3 podcasts in a row.
You know,
maybe I could come home to a check for $1 million. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's not my
a check for $20. That's all I can.
That's not my department. I'm not in the check for $20 business. I'm in the Rage Select podcast business, and that's why you're listening to another Rage Select podcast here on Rage Select. And say the word Rage Select 4 more times in this introduction. I'm Jeff from Rage Select, and I have with me
John from Rage Select.
And it's all the Rage Select that you could ever ask for.
Rage Select, Rage Select,
Rage Select. It's like being John Malkovich. It's just going to turn into nothing. That's what happens when they go through the portal. John Cusack is in my head.
It's like Groot, except instead of saying I am Groot, it's just Rage Select.
Rage Select. It's
Rage Select.
It's the dojo, but every time they say Rage Select, it increases by 2x. Do you understand those videos? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like where it's like a B movie, but every time they say B, the movie doubles in speed, and it's just like, why?
Just being stupid.
For what reason? Yeah, but it's like a subgenre of internet thing. At least you know, of
it
all
allows them to put the full movie on the internet and hopefully like fight the copyright protection because their algorithms can't catch it or something.
I guess. I mean, I guess the first time you did it, it was fine. It's just in like B movie within 5 minutes, the movie was incomprehensibly fast. So.
Yeah. Well, I think it was partially done to kind of show how kind of bullshit YouTube's algorithms are.
Okay.
So,
hey, you don't gotta explain to me how bullshit YouTube's algorithms.
I could be entirely wrong on that. So someone out there listening is like, "No, John, you're wrong. You understand."
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, this is the internet, John. Somebody out there is going to be banging their fist authoritatively on a thing and saying that you don't understand what you're talking about. It happened last week.
I would like to point out that anytime my mouth opens and internet and information comes out of it, there is a 50% chance that I'm wrong.
Oh, there's a 100% chance that I don't know what I'm talking about. This is all just stream of consciousness. I haven't had time to think for the last 4 years. So
killed myself later in the night after we recorded Into the Breach.
Yeah,
because I realized I said something really stupid that was completely wrong. Like when Matt was asking me about the Lupin Ranger versus Pat Ranger thing.
Okay,
I said that Lupin was based on an actual like thief in history.
Yeah,
that's wrong.
Okay,
he's a book character that was written a long time ago in France.
That was a really strange dojo because I felt like you and Matt were having a podcast and I was playing a video game at the same time.
Yeah, but that was just like it's like literally. I went home and I sat down and I started to get ready to go to bed and I went, "Fuck."
Yep. Well,
because I said shit that was wrong.
Well, you know, the internet will
but no one's called me out on it.
It's all right. It's all right.
So there you go.
I mean, you know, at this point, like 4 people are watching these videos. So, you know, as long as one of those 4 people, as long as I know all 4 of those, you know, it makes actually for a better YouTube experience when only like, you know, the 8 people that are watching your show. Anyway, speaking of things that are on the internet, we got a trailer this week for WreckIt Ralph 2.
Yeah.
Ralph breaks the internet.
Yes.
Which, was there a breaks the internet before the whole Kim Kardashian breaks the internet thing with her butt picture?
Well, I mean, I thought I don't know if it was related, but I know Brian Michael Bendis claimed to break the internet at one point.
Okay.
With stuff that he did in, I want to say it was the original House of M.
Okay. Oh, but that's just breaking the internet with comic book stuff. That's easy. But anyway,
also it could have been that just could have been a reference to the Kim Kardashian thing.
I don't know. Hey, you know what? This looks real good.
Yeah.
And I'd specifically like to say that I'm glad that you're here because last week we talked about Reboot, the reboot.
Yeah.
And about going into computers and how they were doing it so poorly. And oh my God, this looks like a million times better than that.
Oh, this looks great. Looks fun. I'm excited. I've a lot of the stuff that I've heard about that's not even in this trailer sounds fun.
Yeah.
I'm totally on board for it. Like I'm fucking Ralph on the internet. Some dark humor.
Yeah.
Mind you, I think the first one had a few moments of dark humor in it, but there's
It looks, I don't know. It looks solid. It looks like they're taking it out into the world. WreckIt Ralph and Vanellope they're fun characters.
Yeah.
We get a little bit where they're on eBay, and then we've got this part at the end where Ralph goes into a tablet game and feeds a rabbit so many pancakes that it's just, I don't know. There's this one really brief shot at the end of this rabbit slowly pushing.
And he looks so sad, like so in pain.
And like it's eating all these pancakes, but this is the only one where the syrup scrapes off onto its lips, and it just looks like a horror movie. It's disgusting.
And then it grows and makes a pop noise.
And then it blows up, and it's like on a little kid's tablet. But like, yeah, WreckIt Ralph was a great concept. It was kind of what we were talking about last week with, anthropomorphizing what's inside of the technology that we use. And holy shit, this looks great.
Yeah.
This looks absolutely incredible. And can I just say, I haven't seen Coco yet.
I haven't seen it either, but I want to.
I almost bought it. Actually, I was at Best Buy last week to buy something, and then they didn't have it. I think it was that Sword Art Online game, but
Coco even out yet on DVD?
It's on Blu-ray. Yeah,
okay.
It's out this week on Blu-ray.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But
I need to go pick that up.
I haven't seen it, but what I can say is, like, speaking of WreckIt Ralph, like, Disney Animation's kicking Pixar's ass these days.
Well, that is Pixar.
No. WreckIt Ralph? Well, no, Coco is Pixar, right? But WreckIt Ralph is like the Disney 3D animation studio.
That technically is Pixar now.
It doesn't have Pixar logo in front of it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I know that. I'm just saying, like, it's Pixar people, though.
I'm just thinking that whatever the split is, that there was the Pixar line, and then there was, starting with what, Chicken Little or Dinosaurs or something like that. There was the kind of the Disney animation CG line that was like what? It was like Bolt, and then like Meet the Robinsons.
Yeah.
But then they're the ones who were doing Frozen and Moana and Inside Out. I think Inside Out was them. Meanwhile, unfortunately, Pixar has been doing, what last year was Cars 3, right?
Yeah.
And I have no idea whether Coco's any good. I haven't seen it. But I just find it interesting because when Pixar first came out, they were just like these untouchable badasses. And I don't know. Well,
it's like the guy who was in charge of Pixar actually is heading Disney's animation. Like, he moved over to Disney's animation people.
Then why are they... Oh, I guess Inside Out was Pixie. Yeah, or Pixar. Finding Dory. Yeah, I don't know. I just been largely more satisfied with the stuff under that other umbrella than the stuff that's been specifically branded as Pixar recently. Anywho, well, before we get into the news, of which we have quite a bit and quite a bit of interesting stuff to talk about, let's talk about movies real fast.
Okay.
Since we're already talking about them. I watched Mute last week.
Netflix movie.
Netflix, yeah.
I haven't seen this yet.
Duncan Jones's new movie, who did Moon and Warcraft, and what was the other one? Eagle Eye or
something like that. I don't remember. I keep forgetting that he also did Warcraft.
Yeah. It was not good. It was not very good.
I still want to watch it.
It was interesting because it was it was this weird noir story with Stellan Skarsgård as a guy who can't talk, as a mute.
Yeah.
The bad guy is Paul Rudd with like a really strange blonde, not Jared Leto. Who's that other guy? Anyway, Justin Theroux as his friend, and like the whole thing was interesting because it was like something was wrong with it. It was like they filmed the first draft of the script, and there was a bunch of stuff where I just kept going, why? And like you didn't really establish that, and like making Paul Rudd your bad guy just seemed to be a real bad decision because he can't help but just be Paul Rudd, and Paul Rudd isn't scary. You want to hang out with Paul Rudd, so you know that part in a noir story where like the guy who's really nice then suddenly snaps and he becomes like a vicious psychopath.
Yeah,
like that part doesn't work with Paul Rudd because I'm never going to buy Paul Rudd as a vicious psychopath. Or maybe
I could,
but it didn't seem like they pushed him far enough. And then there was a bunch of parts where it didn't really make a lot of sense, and like, well, why is this person doing this, and why did this happen? The whole thing just didn't really hang together for me conceptually.
Okay.
You know what it did? It did that thing that I was talking about when we talked about The Last Jedi, where I went into it and I started watching it, and within the first like 10 to 15 minutes, it did enough things that it like busted my suspension of disbelief, and so then I just flipped and became hypercritical of everything that was happening, and was like, well, why is that character doing that? That doesn't sort of blah, 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 blah. Like all this stuff. Imagine that people are mad about with Last Jedi. So I didn't actually really like it. I actually enjoyed Cloverfield Paradox more because even though Cloverfield Paradox was dumb, it had a beginning, a middle, and end. In it, like the motivations of the characters hung together. Like they might have been stupid, but they hung together. Like they worked in the context of the story.
Yeah.
And here, there were plenty of times where I was just like, why are you doing this, character? Like, why are you doing this? And etc. So, I didn't like it, but that's not to say that anybody wouldn't like it. And like I've been saying a bunch of times before, Netflix to me is kind of like the new USA middle of the afternoon on a Sunday channel where, I didn't pay anything for Mute, so I'm not like mad at it or anything. But between that and Cloverfield Paradox, I'd much rather watch Cloverfield Paradox than Mute. And did they have a new one that just is coming out, or some new thing where they're just like, hey, and it's out right now?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know either.
I know that at sometime like later in the year, they're supposed to have some Scorsese movie with De Niro and Pacino as like mafia guys.
Oh, okay.
Like coming out, but like this and Cloverfield Paradox were apparently all part of the deal that Netflix had with Paramount.
Okay.
Basically, Paramount is just unloading all of the stuff they're not sure about releasing in theaters to Netflix.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, as far as like other stuff, I don't know what else is coming out on Netflix or it's out now kind of thing. I don't.
Okay, but you also got a chance to see something.
Yeah, Amanda and I went and saw Annihilation
in the theaters. Okay,
it's the only way you can see it.
Yeah.
Unless you're outside of the U.S., in which in a few months it'll be out on Netflix, but not here in the States.
Oh, good. No, that's
here
really,
in the States. It's in theaters.
Yeah,
so this is the movie Natalie Portman. It's based on a best-selling book. The first thing I will say, if you've ever read the book Annihilation, don't go into the theater expecting that book.
Oh, okay.
Because it is a loose adaptation, and the term loose is as loose as they come.
Okay.
It's basically a group of women, a squad, if you will, go into an area, an evacuated area, to research why this phenomena is happening in this area.
It reminded me a lot when I watched the trailer of Stalker.
Yeah.
Except more to the beginning of the Stalker story.
Like that right there, what I just described, though, is about the only two things they have in common outside of the name of the movie.
Okay.
Everything else is. I have not, but Amanda has read it, and she told me everything about it. So I am, because I'm pretty sure I've talked about it before. I typically don't read novels.
Right.
I'll read comics, I'll read autobiographies, but like actual novels, I just rarely read them. And Amanda likes to talk about her books, like to kind of help her process them.
Yeah.
So she just tells me what's going on in them. So I know what happens in them.
Okay.
But no, it was good. I liked it. It was, it has some issues. I feel like there are some, like it doesn't, like it kind of goes out of its way to be obtuse about a few things that I feel like maybe they shouldn't have been obtuse about. But in other areas, I feel like they explain too much.
Okay.
And it's just weird. Though there's a creature, a bear creature, and this is not a spoiler by saying there's a bear creature in the movie that is truly terrifying.
Okay.
And is probably the scene with that bear creature is probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
So let's see. It's the writer and director of Ex Machina.
He did Ex Machina.
He's executive producer on Dread, and then executive producer on 28 Weeks Later, and then the screenwriter of
I think this was his
and
second movie that he directed.
Sunshine. Yeah. The first one being Ex Machina. I didn't know that it was the same guy that did Ex Machina, because I thought Ex Machina was brilliant. But.
This one, it's good. Like I said, I liked it. I thought it was very good. I didn't like going into the theater. My immediate reaction was, I didn't hate that.
Yeah,
I'd need to process it, and I still feel like I need to process it.
Okay,
but I liked it enough to say that was good. I felt it was worth going to see.
Okay,
is it worth going to see in the theater? I don't know.
Okay,
but it was definitely worth watching. I think the ending is very like it's one of those types of endings where it's like, okay, now I'm going to sit in a room with a bunch of people who have also seen this movie, and we're going to talk about what the fuck that ending means, and everyone's going to have different opinions.
Quick note: Alex Garland, the writer and director of this movie, was the co-writer of Enslaved: Odyssey to the West and the story supervisor for DMC Devil May Cry. So obviously worked with Ninja Theory before striking out. So.
Yeah, but yeah, it was like I said, I had some issues with it, but they were kind of minor. But like I said, I liked it. It's just the biggest thing is that if you are a huge fan of the book and you want the book, you're not going to get it.
Okay, fair enough.
And just go in not expecting it. I've heard the book is really good though. I mean, Amanda says the book is great. So, and the story sounded interesting from what she told me. And I actually would have kind of preferred to. The problem with the book, and I'll say this one last thing, is that the book comes off as a very slow burn, John Carpenter style, not like horror, like with tentacles and stuff like that, but John Carpenter pacing, where he lets a scene linger, and he'll let a camera like linger in a spot for a long period of time, and just let it play out. Like there's not a lot of cuts. Kind of thing,
right?
Like you've ever seen like the movie Prince of Darkness, it's very much like the beginning of that, where it's just kind of long meandering shots, people talking, people doing things, and it spends a lot of time on it and doesn't, it takes its time, which I don't know if that would have been a movie a lot of people would have liked to have seen.
Okay,
I would have liked to have seen it. I know Amanda would have liked to have seen it, but I also get some of the changes they made for that.
Okay. Well, that was incredibly vague, but it sounds like you pretty much enjoyed it.
Oh, no, I enjoyed it. Like, despite the fact that it's different from the book, I enjoyed it.
Okay. All right. Well, great. So don't watch Mute. Do watch Annihilation. And from there, let us jump over to video game news. And the first thing, I was actually going to put this last on the list, and then I looked at the news that was coming out, and I actually tweeted about this. I never tweet about anything. I don't know if you have read this story about one of my favorite games that is near and dear to my heart that doesn't get enough credit, and that is No One Lives Forever. So, allow me to say that by default, I don't hate Warner Brothers. I do dislike Warner Brothers in a lot of ways because they've had some kind of scuzzy shit that they've done. I mean, the Shadow of War. I mean, some stuff is fine. Like Injustice 2 was fine. Shadow of War, not as much. But okay, so after this is an interesting story, and I highly recommend that anybody who wants to know this whole thing go over to Kotaku and read the whole story. But here's the long and short of it. Night Dive Studios, the studio that is doing the System Shock, or that put out System Shock for modern systems, and then like they do a lot of re-releasing of old games, and they were also the one that did the Kickstarter for the System Shock reboot,
then got put on
remaster that got put on hold. After they got the license for System Shock, they were like, "Great, this is awesome. No One Lives Forever. Let's do No One Lives Forever next." So they actually got so worked up about it that they created some new art for it, and they went out and they started trying to kind of get the rights to it. The problem is that the rights to No One Lives Forever are strange. Because, okay, I'm just going to read this from the story on Kotaku. No One Lives Forever and its sequel were developed by Monolith, who are now owned by Warner Brothers, under whom they released the acclaimed action game Shadow of Mordor, etc. No One Lives Forever was made using a framework called the Lithtech engine, which is also now owned by Warner Brothers. However, the first game was published by Fox Interactive. There's a question as to whether 20th Century Fox or even Activision might have partial rights to the series due to Activision's 2008 merger with Vivendi, a separate media company that had acquired Fox Interactive in 2003. So I feel like we've run into this a few times before, but I feel like people may not know this. Old games a lot of times get caught in this weird limbo where they were made by a developer for a publisher that was bought by somebody else, and like where does the copyright stand, right? Who actually owns the IP rights to? And
neither company knows which one actually owns the copyright.
Right.
And both are claiming that they do.
Right. Well, no, that's not entirely true. I think that the main thing here is that no one wants to do the work, but everybody wants to hold their copyright, because there's actually a quote in here about them trying to contact these companies. The company's saying that a lot of those records about who owns what are pre-digital, and nobody wants to send somebody into the archives to look this up and to do work in order for some other company to get access to the rights to publish a thing. On the other hand, they do not want to just give that other company carte blanche to do whatever, because it's strange. Night Dive actually registered No One Lives Forever as a copyright because the copyright had lapsed or something like that. And they were very much kind of on the road to getting something done because they were kind of like, well, if nobody's going to stop us, then we're just going to go ahead. At which point they got a nastygram from Warner Brothers that said, basically, if you put out a game that says No One Lives Forever, we will sue you. And when they said, well, we've been contacting you trying to see if we can get somebody to talk to us about the rights to No One Lives Forever, they were like, yeah, we're not interested in that either. But if you do go ahead, we will sue you. But we're also not going to do any work to try to figure out whether we can set up a licensing with you or whatever. So this project is dead, which is fucked up because not many people remember this, but No One Lives Forever isn't on Steam or Good Old Games. Like, I own it. I own No One Lives Forever 2 because I bought a physical copy off of Amazon, and because I own the original because I bought it when it first came out. But it's a hell of a game franchise, and I kind of make a video at some point looking back on it because No One Lives Forever 2 is it's such a great game, and it really sucks that that this is basically being held up by just a company that doesn't want to spend any time or effort looking into it. I mean, I can also kind of understand that, where somebody comes up to you and they're just like, hey, I want to do something with this that will probably not be profitable to you at all. Could you have somebody take time out of their day to go untangle the legal spaghetti that is who owns the rights to this so that we can publish this game and make, a few $1,000s, which we probably don't even care about because you're a big old mega conglomerate.
Yeah, and it's also the fact that, like you said, it's the rights are kind of, does Activision have it or does Warner Brothers have it? So if they go to Warner Brothers, does Warner Brothers want to spend the manpower to send someone into their archives to look into it to find out that Activision actually owns the rights now?
Yeah.
And then they have no say in it?
Yep.
And then that's work that guy just did that amounts to nothing.
Which sucks.
And it also, comes out and says that they can't sue them later.
Yeah. I kind of fall down on the side of like, dude, I totally understand that you don't want to do the work for this. I kind of feel though that I hate the idea. Like, it's one thing. I don't think that you should just be able to make like a Mario game, right? Like, Nintendo's making Mario games, but for stuff where they've let this shit lapse and go for so long, and it's just like, wow, one of these days we might want to remaster this game and then fucking go cash in on it on whatever. But you've got these other guys that are willing to do that work right now. Like, it does make me kind of unhappy that it's like, just let them do it. Just let them do it, man. Just let them put it out, because the world needs to know how good No One Lives Forever is, because if they put it out and it sells well enough, then there might be enough interest to do a Kickstarter and then do a sequel. And yes, do that. See, the art style that's in Fortnite and Team Fortress 2 and Dishonored to a certain extent, the kind of like big kind of style, semi-stylized blocking. Oh my God, that would be the perfect art style for No One Lives Forever. Like, I almost want to learn how to make video games just to make No One Lives Forever 3 and call it something else. Just to call it something else, but it's going to be a 70s super spy, first-person sneaking action adventure globe-trotting spy game for the whole family. Anyway, boo. Boo on you, Warner Brothers. I understand, but still boo. You suck. Let it go. Let my video game people go. Speaking of letting my video game people go, I'm afraid that this week we've got a little bit more politics to talk, John, because everybody seemed to really enjoy that last week and not at all be upset by it.
Yeah, wasn't someone like claiming that I'm like the devil's advocate in every situation or something like that?
I don't know. I don't know.
I was like, am I? But yeah.
I don't know. You're willing to come back at me and be like, no. Anyway, there's a whole thing I could say about.
I mean, I like to explain both sides of a problem.
Sure,
but then I'll side.
Okay, so this is. God damn, this sucks. You know what? I hate that we're back in 1995 again. So there's okay, in Illinois, there's a 16-year-old kid who was upset about that the let's see. Okay, so this is Lake Park High School. 2 days in a row was shut down in Roselle, a suburb of Chicago, after potential threats of violence at the school were made, and the administrators decided to to shut it down.
Err on the side of caution.
Yeah, I don't know much about that. But apparently there was a kid who hasn't been named in this story who went on social media and was like, what was the direct quote? "Y'all need to shut up about school shootings or I'll do one." And so from that point, this is and this was a Snapchat video of him playing a video game, and then that was what the subtitle was. That video was reported to the authorities. The team was brought in question and charged with something that hasn't been released. The end of the story, though, is that the judge sentenced him to banned him from social media and also banned him from specifically playing violent video games. Like the judge, this is a quote from the judge: "You could play all the Mario Kart you want," and it's like, God damn it. They searched the house. There were no weapons or anything. They talked to the kid's parents. The parents were like, "There's no weapons or anything here." Boy, howdy, I don't know. I just like this is the part of this I really don't like is the, that, oh, well, we're going to ban you from playing violent video games and that will curb your angry tendencies. I don't know. It so reeks of the Satanic Panic from the 80s of like, oh, video games turn these children into monsters. And I mean, we went over this a lot last week, but like, I find it also very strange that a judge can throw down a sentence or decided to put down a sentence with that specific thing. You can't play violent video games. What does that mean? Does that mean you can't play M-rated games? Because I tell you, there are plenty of T for teen games that are violent as hell. Metal Gear Survive, I believe, is either T for teen or E for everyone.
I don't think it's E for everyone.
You don't think it's E for everyone?
No.
No? You're just shooting unicorn zombies in the face.
Well, typically any game that involves guns isn't E for everyone.
Oh, is at least T for
unless they're like cartoon guns.
But like, is that T for teen? Is it E for everyone? I mean, like, you could ban me. You could tell me that I can only play games that are E for everyone. There are plenty of E for everyone games out there. Into the Breach is probably E for everyone, right? Like,
I don't know.
I don't know. It's just such a weirdly specific sentence that I don't like because it mirrors right now. Like we talked about it last week. I feel like we're starting to see the re-rise of scapegoating of violent video games for violence in kids. And to add to what we were talking about last week, there are, might have been you, might have been somebody else made a great point about there are other countries in which people can play Grand Theft Auto 5 and they aren't shooting places up. So, there's that. There's a lot of things. And I think that, and for this one, like, man, you know what? You want to investigate this kid. You want to go to his house to make sure he doesn't have guns and a big plan on the wall of things going on. And maybe even charge him with something. Yeah. Or like a fine, like just like a small enough or a large enough fine so that the kid's going to have to pay it and maybe work it off in debt to his parents or whatever like that. I don't have any problem with that. It's just the idea that part of this punishment is that the state is then going to take away his violent video games because that's obviously what's going on. This just seemed like some kid that was just said something stupid online, which ties into a thing that I will not go into, which is the ability of children to say stupid shit online. When I was a teenager, I said a lot of dumb shit. I'm so glad that social media didn't exist because I wasn't fully a person yet, and I was pushing the boundaries and saying all kinds of dumb shit. This sounds like the sort of thing that I might have said, like just because it was all just like, shocking, like, blah. I wasn't a responsible teenager. I was an angry young man. And the idea that, this angry young man says this thing, I don't know. Maybe people disagree. Maybe you disagree. Dude.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I want to be honest.
Okay.
I'm somewhere in the middle. Like, I don't know. Like, is this like a hacker situation where, a young minor does something like in the movie Hackers or whatever, and then
I know where you're going with that,
and then gets banned from using touching a computer for however many years?
Yeah.
Is this how is it enforced?
It's a good question. How is it enforced? What is the line drawn? And the thing that
does he have to go to counseling as well?
Exactly. Like if you think that the violent video games have made him into a psychopath, then I feel like the sentence should have been you have to see a mental health professional.
It kind of comes off less as I think I'm banning you from playing violent video games because I think it's warping your mind, and kind of comes off as like, oh, so you want to make these stupid comments online and make threats, and blah, 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 blah. Well, we're going to take away your violent video games.
Take away your toys and go to your room
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
Maybe
it kind of comes off like that to me, but at the same time, it's just like, I don't know. What's that? There's a lot that I don't know about this that I can't really form a solid opinion on. Like, and how long is it that he can't play? Like, is it forever?
Yeah.
Is it only like for 5 years? Is it for 2 years? Is it,
Yep. I don't know. All I know is that it seems like we're going back into this fight, which just means that it's time to strap on your boots and wade back in, folks. Because speaking of which, Donald Trump is going to be meeting with representatives of the video game industry.
I was wondering if you were going to bring this one up
next week. Yep. I don't really know very much about this.
Which leaders?
Yeah, apparently it's with the ESRB.
Okay.
Let's see.
Well, surely nothing will go wrong.
I only hope that there's this weird quote from him, and I don't really understand it, where he says, again, when you read a Donald Trump quote and you don't have his cadence, I feel like a lot of times it comes off as really weird, so just bear with me. The video games, the movies, the internet stuff, it's so violent, it's incredible. I see it. I get to see things that you'd be amazed at. I have a very young son who I look at some of the things he's watching, and I say, how is that possible? And this is what kids are watching. So,
well, it's possible because you motherfucker let him. First of all,
again, allow me to say that all the consoles have a lock on them that you could put on, that if you put in a game that's above a certain rating, then you can't play it.
Yeah. Well, it's like, what was it, a long time, like a few weeks back, where he was like talking about violence in video games and movies, and then like there should be like a rating systems on those.
Yeah.
And everyone went, there are.
There is.
On both, on movies and video games.
It's weird. Look, I'm not trying to get into a whole big pro or anti-Trump thing, but he seems like he seems like he's a very much shooting from the hip kind of guy. And so, like, that statement combined with him meeting, I'm hoping that if he meets with some ESRB people, that they're just like, Mr. President, we have a rating system. Here it is. It works. We have parental controls. They're right here. That's how it works. Because I feel like the poor ESRB has been trying desperately to keep the government, to try to keep this from becoming a government issue. And the last thing that I feel like we should want is lawmakers. Like, I want lawmakers to threaten the video game industry, but I never want them to actually come in and
I don't even want them to threaten them.
Regulating. Maybe.
I feel like that's a slippery slope.
Well, I mean, like, I'm thinking more like loot boxes and less, like violence. Like, that's the problem is that violence in video games have been around for so long that the idea that it's like, oh, well, just now in 2017, it was fine for every 4-year-old to play Grand Theft Auto 5. And in 2018, we've suddenly come back around to the idea that if you're playing Grand Theft Auto 5, it's going to make you a crazy psycho killer.
I don't agree with every 5-year-old should be playing Grand Theft Auto 5. I actually have issues with that. But I also believe that it's up to the parent to make that decision for their child. Mm-hmm. And if their parent is too lazy or doesn't care enough to monitor that type of thing, mm-hmm. then that is their fault, not the video game industries.
Let me ask you a weird hypothetical question. What do you think about if you buy a console and like by default the console, when you turn it on, it says, hey, I need you to put in a credit card number to this console. We're not going to charge it, but it'll be the card that's on file on this console, but I'm asking you to do this to unlock T and M rated games to prove that you are 18. No?
Because I work for a company where too many kids, 5-year-olds, 8-year-olds, go online and enter credit card information into their consoles, into their web browsers without their parents' knowledge to prove that they are adult. Okay, it's too often does, and that
I guess here's the thing: is that because when you think about movies, which I don't always feel that video games and movies should be lumped into the same category, but there's a person selling the tickets for movies, right? So a 5-year-old can't walk up and be like, "One for John Wick," and they're just like, "Yeah, whatever." But
like two kids wearing a
right,
trench coat.
one on the shoulders of the other one in a trench coat.
Like
yeah,
at that
exactly.
Black Panther screening.
Yep.
Yeah.
But there is a gatekeeper at the movie theater for letting kids into R-rated movies.
Yeah, and I mean, mind you, when we get, this is where digital comes in, but I mean, when you go to the store to buy a physical copy of a game, there is a gatekeeper. It's the person at the register.
Sure.
Now, mind you, that opens up a whole nother can of worms for other things, which that's not what we're talking about here. But
yeah,
but you're right. For digital, there's not really a person. It's all like it's a computer basically saying literally it's a checkbox saying, I am authorized to use this card.
Right.
And the reason the checkbox is there, unfortunately, is so that if a child clicks it, the company is not at fault because the child lied.
Yeah.
The child is at fault because the child lied, or the parent is at fault because the child lied.
I don't know.
It's a weird gray area that, as someone who works in that industry and knows why those are there, it's a weird gray area that I'm not even 100% comfortable with a lot of it. Okay. That's why I am very much of the belief that parents should know what their kids are playing. And having said that, I also feel like that if a parent is like, my child is mature enough at age 8 to play Grand Theft Auto 5, then you know what? Cool. Fine. That's their choice. Yeah. I have no say in that.
Yeah.
Because who knows? If I ever have a kid someday, I may have a child, and at age 8, I may think he's, old enough to play Doom or old enough to play whatever.
John, your 8-year-old says motherfucker a lot.
Well,
I mean, just a lot.
Well, he is going to live. He would be living with me and Amanda, so it's not like he wouldn't hear those terms.
Right.
But no, it's so. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it'll be different. But I also feel like that. Parents should know what their kids are doing, and what type of media they're, and are kids going to try to sneak around their parents to get to that stuff? Of course.
Sure.
Everyone. I did it. You did it.
Yep.
I remember. Here's the thing. It's funny because as a kid, my mom knew exactly everything that I watched.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes I would try to get around her knowing. She still knew.
Yeah.
And she would, it's like, hey, I'm not upset that you played this violent game, or I'm not upset that you watched this R-rated movie that I really don't think you should watch, but let's talk about it.
Sure.
Or
also, I mean, it's worth noting that when I was a kid, and what was your childhood console?
Well, I had an NES, or my brother had an NES. My first console for me that was actually considered mine was my brother's Sega Genesis that also had the Sega CD, and we also had the Sega Channel for cable.
Yeah, I know, you're a fucking rich fancy guy.
No, I wasn't rich. I was we were not rich.
But so
we were middle class.
Here's the other thing I don't really know, to be honest. And thinking about it, to be perfectly honest though, I got my NES when I was 10.
Yeah.
Before that, I played some computer games that were very primitive, and even the NES was very primitive. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe if you do grow up playing Grand Theft Auto 5, it's a problem. My personal experience is only relevant to me and people that are around 40 years old.
Yeah.
Who knows if you grow up from age 4 on Snapchat playing Call of Duty, yelling obscenities at people. I don't know. Maybe it does make you crazy, but I need somebody to show me a direct correlation.
I grew up
first.
playing BattleTech on PC and X-Wing, and TIE Fighter and stuff like that, and then also NES, some Atari. Mostly NES, I never played the Super NES because I had a Genesis, and then
Genesis does what Nintendo don't.
Yeah, exactly. And plus I had Sega CD, so
right.
Yeah, it led real people doing things on the screen.
Night Trap.
Yeah, Night Trap and Sewer Shark and Marky Mark's Make My Video.
The horror. That's got to be an M-rated one for sure.
I am not ashamed to admit I played a lot of that when I was a kid.
Anyway, let's move on because we still have way more.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. It's all right. Perfectly all right. Speaking of, but we're not out of the woods just yet. The ESRB has decided that in response to a lot of the different controversies that we've been seeing, that they are going to put a new label on games that have, and I quote, loot boxes, season passes, and DLC. And then on their website, they have an explanation for parents about what exactly this new label means, etc. It's a little weird because technically this is most games, right? Like most physical in the store games have one of those three things.
Yeah.
Whether it's just DLC. I mean, like Senran Kagura Peach Beach Splash is for sale at Best Buy. That has purchase, online like bikinis that you can purchase and shit like that. Like, is there a game that you can buy in a physical copy that would have an ESRB rating on it that would not also have this label on it? Like, I feel it's just going to become really ubiquitous because it's just one label on every game because there's no differentiation between loot boxes, DLC, and season pass.
Yeah.
So
I feel like it's a nice step forward, but not implemented correctly.
Yeah.
I think is the best way to say that. Also, not to fault the ESRB, but for my issue is that it's gonna have this thing, and then if parents go to our website and look at what they can see what this thing means.
Yep.
And it's like, how many people even know? How many parents know that there's an ESRB website?
How many people, you audience member, can you name me the things that change a game from a T to an M? Do you know what the difference is between a T game and an M game? Can you tell me the specific things? The SRB's website has it beautifully laid out. You can go read it all right now.
Yeah.
The difference between E for everyone and what's the baby rating? It's like the young children, like Y7 or something like that. Then E for everyone, and then T, and then M, and then AO 17 or whatever. But they're pretty explicit. But yeah, I take your point where, I mean, first off, it's going to be on every game, so it's going to be next to meaningless. Second, maybe the whole problem with this whole thing that we're talking about is that the campaign needs to not be against children, it needs to be against adults. It needs to be about shaming adults for not, like, do you know what your kid, instead of shaming the kid, shame the parents because, like, you're the one who bought this.
But no, they can't be at fault. They're just parents, and their kid wanted it.
Yeah. If you showed your child, anyway, so I doubt this is going to do anything. Just means there's going to be more clutter on the box.
Yeah,
there's going to be a thing next to the ESRB rating, which I already can do without. So,
because trust me, I've heard that excuse. Like, it's not my fault. My kid wanted the game. They got the game, and how dare you?
Yeah, your kid also wants to eat Snickers for dinner, and fucking glue the dog to the wall, but you don't let them do stuff because they're children and they don't fucking know. Anyway. Hey, let's get on to something that's not any of this stuff.
I'm excited for other stuff.
All right, woo! Speaking of loot boxes, Overwatch, and speaking of Overwatch, boy howdy, I think this was the fastest tease to deliver new hero that we have in Overwatch.
Well, the hero's not out. It's only on the test realm.
Okay, yeah, on the PTR. But this is, okay, do you remember how to say her name?
Brigitte.
It's spelled like Brigitte, basically, but so Brigitte is Torbjorn's daughter.
She's Torbjorn's daughter and Reinhardt's goddaughter.
Buddy, like the lady that was in the Reinhardt
She's also
video.
a squire, essentially. She's first appeared in the comic Chasing Dragons for the Overwatch comic, and then she later appeared in Reinhardt's cinematic short.
Yes.
She's like his squire / helper.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like she's going to be a support hero. Actually, no, it doesn't look like. She is going to be a support hero.
That's now 4 support heroes post-launch?
I don't think so.
Wait. Anna. It's like Anna. Oh, God damn it. But yeah, there's a lot of fucking support heroes.
Oh, what's her face? The last one was a support hero, right? The redheaded?
Yeah, Moira.
Yeah. But I think Arisa's defense.
Yeah.
And Sombra is specialty or whatever that.
Attack?
Attack? Is she attack?
Yeah, I think she's attack.
Or I thought she was in the one with Hanzo, because Hanzo is an attack.
Okay. Maybe.
Anyway, yeah, so she's going to basically kind of be like a weird halfway step in between.
She basically looks like she's the best. She's the best of both. She is a paladin healer, or
she's got a smaller shield than Reinhardt. She's got some interesting. She's got a hammer to attack with. I don't know. I mean, she seems interesting.
I already want to play. I can't wait to get my hands on her to play in a game, because I am totally on board for everything I'm seeing with her character.
Yeah, I tried playing Moira a few times and didn't really get her the whole kind of like stealing power and then redistributing that power didn't really work very well for me. So yeah, and
I like. Here's the thing. I love Reinhardt. Like I play as Reinhardt mainly.
Yeah.
Like him and Junkrat are kind of my two main characters.
Mm-hmm.
But I always like when I'm playing like games where it's like with like randos, it's like I always end up having to be the healer. So I always end up being, because everyone else has already picked their character and there's no healer on the group. So I end up being like the guy that's like, fine, I'll fucking be a healer.
Sure.
And I'll pick like Lucio or, you know, something like that. And then, you know, so I'm totally down because this sounds like a healer character that I will play obsessively.
Yeah. Yeah. Anna, I didn't like the sniper rifle on Anna. And Moira's was a little bit complicated, so I'm interested. So yeah, that's happening, and it should probably only be a matter of time before we see her. I mean, the PTR to main,
it's usually about a month or two.
I feel like it's more like
sometimes
2
less
weeks,
than that,
but we should probably be seeing that pretty soon. Hey, speaking of playing online and shooting people,
what?
Let's talk about Battlefield a little bit.
Okay.
So we got a leak that it seems like the next Battlefield is going to be a World War II Battlefield.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's Battlefield 5. Battlefield's going back to World War II. This is the first time since 2009. What do you think? It's you don't really play any Battlefield.
I don't play Battlefield.
I wonder if Jason's going to be really excited about this because I know that he likes to play Battlefield a lot. I don't know. You know, it's funny how I'd be more sympathetic to a World War II Battlefield game than I am to World War I because I felt like they shoehorned a lot of like weird tech from World War I. Like they made World War I into this weird running around on a battlefield thing as opposed to like the trench warfare moving forward with artillery stuff that actually like happened. I don't know. Something about it makes me more interested in it.
Everything old is new again, my friend.
Yeah, and especially the fact that Call of Duty's already gotten it out of their system. What is Call of Duty going to do, though? World War I? Is just going to go in a circle? And then next year it's going to be Battlefield 1, 2.
So is this going to be Battlefield 2? Is this going to be called Battlefield 2?
It was originally going to be called Battlefield 2, but now it's been changed to Battlefield 5, according to a leak of a dev build screenshot that they saw online. So Battlefield V. Yeah, I don't know. It's been a while since I've actually been interested in a Battlefield game. All I can say is I'm real happy for you, DICE. About that Bad Company 3. About that Bad Company 3. Because that's a good series. Next up, speaking of good series, quotey, sarcastic fingers. Final Fantasy 15.
Oh, Final Fantasy 15.
All right, I'm not going to spend too long bitching about Final Fantasy 15 because I already done bitched about Final Fantasy 15 enough for 4 people. So recently, in a fan greeting thing, the director of Final Fantasy 15, Hajime Tabata, asked fans whether they would be interested in a happy ending or a sad ending to Final Fantasy 15.
Didn't Final Fantasy 15 already end?
Yes.
So is he saying he's going to rewrite?
Nobody knows! What they do know is the next story, which is a dagger right up into my heart, which is that Final Fantasy 15 is going to keep putting out content through to 2019.
Okay.
So the question of whether do you want a good ending or a bad ending is for there's going to be apparently 4 new DLCs coming out.
Yeah, fine.
They're going to continue to shove more shit into Final Fantasy 15. I don't know if they're going to remaster the ending or what. All I know is that the longer that they concentrate on Final Fantasy 15, the more time I have to wait until I can hear about Final Fantasy 16 because they've got Final Fantasy 7 and Final fucking Kingdom Hearts 3, and they just got to get all that shit. I didn't like 15. I want a new Final Fantasy. I liked Final Fantasy 13, John.
Okay.
And then the 14 was online. It wasn't bad, but it was online. Not my cup of tea. 15, didn't care for it. Fucking Kingdom Hearts, not my bag. Final Fantasy 7 remake, okay, I'm kind of interested in that, but not as much as like I don't worship the ground that Final Fantasy 7 walks on because fucking Cloud is an asshole. So it's going to be forever until I can finally get to Final Fantasy 16. And knowing them, they're probably going to set it in the the fucking Ivalice universe or something dumb like that. But
so I don't know if this is the next news item you have or not.
Yeah.
But have you heard about the newest crossover in Final Fantasy 15?
It's The Sims.
Yeah, if you buy Final Fantasy 15 on Origin, you get costumes for like the superheroes.
Steam.
I thought it was if you buy it on Origin instead of Steam.
Oh, I don't know. I actually didn't bother with that because I didn't feel like anybody wanted to listen to me talk about The Sims.
Yeah, no, it's apparently if you buy it on Origin instead of Steam, you get 2 costumes in the game, which are the superhero Sims character thing.
Huzzah!
Yeah.
What do you get in The Sims?
I don't think you get anything in The Sims. I think it's just you get Final Fantasy.
That seems like a bad deal.
I don't know.
All I know is that, maybe eventually, yep, those are some... Purchase Final Fantasy 15 Windows Edition before May 1st and claim the Sims 4 pack, including Sims 4 Llama Suits and the Sims 4 Plum Bob. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, you get a decal? Wait. Pre-order and get the Final Fantasy 15 decal. Okay, no, that's not for the Sims. Anyway, all I know is that, you know what? I've decided that once Final Fantasy 15 gets done, when they finish this game that's apparently in early access and only half finished and only half being put out, and like you have to buy 8 or 6 different DLC packs in order to get the full story and wait for 2 years for the director to patch in the actual game and the actual endings and the cutscenes and whatever, maybe I'll go back and play it again when the game is fucking finished in 2020 instead of... The game came out in 2016. It didn't even come out last year. Grrr! So said I wasn't going to do this. I did it anyway. Sorry.
It's okay, Jeff.
I know. Speaking of things that aren't ever going to be finished, how about Nintendo?
Nintendo is forever. It'll never be finished.
Nintendo isn't finished with the Nintendo Switch, according to reports, which is good. But
why would they be finished with it?
It's a bad segue, all right? Just go with it. Apparently, they're interested in expanding the Switch's capabilities via more peripherals. Apparently, they're looking at stuff that can plug into the USB port and expanded capabilities of being able to do other stuff. So,
okay,
that's kind of cool. I do.
Depends on what it is.
I don't want it to turn into a gimmicky Wii.
Yeah,
is all I'm saying. But so far, Nintendo been pretty fucking solid about like just releasing remasters and new games and indie games, and we got a story later about a game that just showed up today on the Switch. But I think it's interesting. I wonder what exactly. Unfortunately, this is a very vague news report, so we have no idea what they mean by that. Yeah. But hopefully,
I mean, I'm intrigued by the Labo. So like that is obviously a peripheral thing that they're doing to try to.
Sure.
And I'm intrigued by it, and I kind of want to, it.
Sure.
I think it's kind of cool. And if it's more like stuff like that,
yeah,
then all for it. Mm-hmm. If it's another fucking, Rumble pack and, N64 era, oh, here's the Rumble pack and here's the whatever advanced HD, expansion pack.
I'm hoping for a Wii Fit board. Fit 2.
Or
Wii Fit 2.
Like another Fit board, or if it's stuff like that.
What if they put out that thing that measures your heartedbeat? Remember they were going to make for the Wii and then they never put it out? I still think it'd be great if you had a horror game that like was able to track your scaredness and then like customize to your, if only Silent Hill was still a thing, that would be perfect.
Too bad.
Also, speaking of things that Nintendo has done recently, apparently Nintendo put a review. They opened their website up so that if you had a confirmed Nintendo ID and you had been online and could prove that you had played 2 hours of a game, you could go to Nintendo's website and you could write a review for it. It had a 5-star rating system. It had a title, and then it had a subject section where you had to have more than 50 characters. You could just write "it sucks" or "boo" or "bad" or "Jeff is the worst" or whatever. You had to do that. So that went up, and people started writing reviews on it. Then Nintendo took it down.
Yes.
And basically said that the quote here is, Nintendo.com recently offered a trial customer review feature to let users share feedback about Nintendo Switch games on our website. The response has been positive, and Nintendo appreciates the time and effort that reviewers put into their thoughtful commentary on the games. Nintendo has removed this feature as we evaluate the future of the ratings functionality on Nintendo.com. We have no estimate on when an update will be provided on the status of this initiative, but we appreciate the enthusiasm shown throughout our trial. I get the impression from this that I don't know exactly what happened here, but I get the impression that Nintendo did that thing where they opened up the internet to people, and so Nintendo likes to keep a pretty sterling reputation, or pretty spotless reputation, and so that they were basically faced with, like, are we going to let people write scathingly bad reviews of Splatoon 2 and how it sucks ballsack donkey nuts as opposed to the first Splatoon, or things like that? That's the impression that I get anyway, because that doesn't seem like the sort of thing that Nintendo would be interested in doing. But
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. Next up, let's talk about Yakuza a little bit.
Okay.
Speaking of website foul-ups, this week, Sega put Yakuza 6 demo prologue out on the PlayStation 4. And the story before it came out was like, oh my God, this thing is huge. This is 36 gigs. And as John pointed out the day of, that's because it was the full game that was just locked up, and you could transfer your save game status from Yakuza 6, the prologue, into the main game. What Sega didn't know, or did, or I don't even know how the fuck this happened.
Yeah, apparently only in North America. Every other region was fine.
Yeah, is that in North America, they ended up releasing the entire game. So
for free.
As near as I could tell, it was just like the demo never ended.
Yeah.
And so you could just kind of keep playing it.
Yeah, I heard, so here's the thing. I heard different things from different websites.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one website was claiming that people, like, there was a trick, like it was an easy trick that you could do by accident, but once someone figured it out, like, because some people apparently weren't able to get past the end of the prologue, and, like, if you did a certain thing, like, you could actually glitch the demo into letting you into the full game.
Oh yeah, it does look like that. That's what it is.
Well, that's what one website said.
Yeah.
Another website was like, no, it was full on. You could just play it. Like, there was no trick or glitch or anything. You just could play the whole game.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen different websites reporting different things. The thing that sucks is I actually didn't get a chance to download it because I was at work, and then from work I came straight here to record some videos with you and Matt.
Yeah.
And then I went home, and I didn't think about it right away. And then, like, right before bed, I was like, oh, I need to go set to download so I can play it tomorrow. And went on there, and it wasn't on the store.
They pulled
and
it.
I was like, weird. I can't find it, but I want to go to bed, so fuck it. I'll just download it when I get home tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And then I went to sleep, woke up, went to work, got to work, opened up the news for gaming news, because that's what I do when I go to work. Mm-hmm. And this news item was there, and I was like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been put up for download as far as I've checked, to re-download it for people who didn't get to download it previously. So as far as I know, so I haven't had a chance to even play the demo that I really wanted to play.
Yeah. So in response to this, they pulled the licenses for all the North American demo. I just tried to open it on my PlayStation. It says cannot use the content. To use the content, purchase it from the PlayStation Store. It is kind of interesting though, because they had the whole story about how the game was pushed back. So how did I just download the entire game? Like, why did you push it back if you already have the full game and it's already just sitting there?
I would suspect that it probably is the full game without some patches that are probably needed.
Yeah.
Like, they basically patched it enough so that you could play just the prologue area.
Right.
And that further along you might encounter some glitches, or the online component may not be fully implemented in it. I would assume. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm speaking out my ass at this point.
Hey, that's what this podcast is all about, man.
But I would assume that's what it is.
Yeah.
And that on release day, there's probably going to be, like, if you had this, there were probably, and you were to purchase it digitally, it probably would have like a 1 gigabyte download or a 30 meg download that fixes the stuff that's broken, or whatever.
It is kind of interesting though, because a few people have apparently just you keep playing it. If my PlayStation didn't get on my Wi-Fi every time I turned it on, man, that would have been nice to be able to just be like, okay. I mean, I couldn't download anything, obviously. Like, I couldn't play anything else. But I feel like I already got everything I needed this week and everything else I could get from my PC. So I could have marathon through a Yakuza 6 this weekend. But anyway, nobody's going to get in trouble. There were some questions about in the Yakuza subreddit about like, will I get in trouble for continuing to play this? And they were like, no. Will the save game transfer? Yes, but no trophies will go over, so you'll have to play it again to get trophies. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
From there, let's go ahead and move on to a few trailers. First up,
out of fucking nowhere,
3D Realms. Okay, so the makers of Duke Nukem 3D put out this trailer for a new game called Ion Maiden, which is actually kind of interesting because it is the character from the game Bombshell.
Oh, okay.
That's as near as I can tell from reading the description and from the gun that she's using. This is basically using like the Duke Nukem 3D engine, and it's kind of like a new Duke Nukem 3D game with kind of, low texture poly sprites and, this kind of frenetic action.
Also, if I remember correctly, the way they're releasing the game is interesting.
Yeah.
Because they're only releasing it, like, it's essentially an early access title.
Okay.
And they're releasing it, like, one level at a time. Like, the level that they've released is a fully implemented level that has been tested and...
Oh, is it already out?
I think it's on Steam Early Access.
Interesting.
And, like, the first episode is, like, fully implemented, and then... When the second episode is fully implemented and beta tested, they'll release that. Kind of like, so you're kind of getting it almost episodically.
Okay.
But it's early access and they're releasing it like one section at a time.
Okay.
But it's I've heard that it's even like people are like, so this first part was supposed to be like bug tested and everything, because it's not.
I don't know. It's weird because I have to play it. I didn't know it was actually out on Steam, but I find the fact that 3D Realms is just because this trailer was very just like tired of imitators. Like, come over here. We know how to make a Duke Nukem 3D level, and it's just like, yeah, but I don't want to play a Duke Nukem 3D level anymore. 3D Realms, like, I like modern first-person shooters that don't look like garbage.
We're kind of, in all honesty, we're kind of at the weird point where people are. So there was the big thing where like 8-bit was like the retro, like popular retro thing, and then 16-bit kind of became the retro popular thing to do in video games, and so now people are trying to turn like this
bad 3D, early bad 3D,
into the next retro popular thing, and. I don't know if it's actually the thing that's going to become the next thing, because I know, like, what was that one game, Strafe? Tried to do it, and then, like, now this. I feel like there are people that are trying to turn that into the next retro craze. But I don't know if anyone's asking for it.
Right. Well, all I know is that I actually kind of liked Bombshell, and it makes me kind of sad that they didn't just make another one of those, because that was like a kind of top-down ARPG kind of thing, and it was really fun. Let's see. Speaking of really fun, we got a trailer for Vermintide 2 with some gameplay. Looks pretty fun. This is coming out really soon, but this is if I'm remembering correctly from the first one, this is like 4 people, and then we got waves of rats coming in. Yeah, and you got to kind of fend them off with your friends. This looks really pretty. I can't tell. Do you think this is Unreal 4?
Might be.
It's like Unreal 4, but it looks really nice. There's so many goddamn Warhammer games out there, though.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it looks really, really, really fantastic. I don't know. I'll have to check it out. I've never been as big of a fan of the Warhammer universe as opposed to the 40K universe.
Yeah.
But boy, this is really violent looking. And as an adult, I would like to play it as a violent video game. And then finally, we have a cinematic trailer for Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden. This kind of came out of nowhere, but ended up really impressing me.
I mean, it's just a CGI trailer, but yeah.
It's got a lot of character, though.
No, it does.
We got Pigmen and Duckmen and then some lady that's also like a rock person or something.
She can like harden her skin to rock or something.
She's got a big boss horn growing out of her head. But but it's interesting because this is very much just kind of post-apocalyptic with these anthropomorphic animals, and this lady looking for, I don't know, scavenging for resources, and then these robots come in, and it kind of pans up, and they have themselves a little fight. We actually, if you go to the website, it's actually a tactical RPG like XCOM. And it looks pretty damn good.
Yeah, the pictures look good for the tactical RPG stuff. But yeah, this I think that this cinematic trailer was just interesting enough to go, okay, you have my interest. Mm-hmm. Now show me a gameplay footage in trailer form or in a video form.
Right.
And then once I see that, I can gauge whether or not I'll actually want to play this.
Yeah. I think that this is the same team, or it's being published by Funcom, is on the YouTube thing. Conan Exiles is listed there. I don't know if this is the same team or not.
Probably not the same team, but
yeah. But it's looks real good. It's coming sometime this year. It seems like there's a lot. If you go to their website, you can see that you're going to be able to kind of bounce between different areas, and that there's a kind of a stealth element to it, and then. Yeah, it looks good, and I'm on board with this. I'm going to definitely be keeping an eye out for it.
Yeah.
All right. So from there, we are going to wrap it up, or we're not going to wrap it up. We got a whole. This is kind of lightning round time.
Okay.
You got 1 year left, PlayStation Plus people, to get your PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita games, because as of March 8th of 2019, PlayStation Plus will not get you free PS3 and free PS Vita games. At this point, I'm trying to think of what PS3 games I would even want, let alone what Vita games.
Which I think their idea is that by the time they get to that date, there's nothing else to release.
Yeah. I mean, I know Alex is going to be mad because he downloads every Vita game that comes out, but I don't know. I actually just recently got my PlayStation 3 working with my current capture card, and I was like, what should I play? And I was like, oh, nothing, because most of this is out on the PC or it's been remastered. Like, there's like 4 games. Like, I need 3D Dot Game Heroes, Folklore, and like Armored Core for Answer, like the Peace Walker HD. I don't know. So anyway, get your PlayStation stuff while you can. And while they're still going on, guess what? In March, the PlayStation Plus lineup is going to have fucking Bloodborne on it.
Fuck yeah.
So
I mean, I already own Bloodborne, but still, fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's a great get. Like, all you got to do is go in and just download it and have it in your library. But not even just that.
Ratchet and Clank?
Yeah, Ratchet and Clank, which was a phenomenal remake of the original Ratchet and Clank. It was a wonderful, charming story. Very beautiful game. Just hella fun to play. Both of those are just fucking solid.
I think even the Vita games, which are cross-buy, there's even one of the PS3 games is a cross-buy as well.
It's Mighty Number 9.
Yeah, Mighty Number 9, which, say what you will about it. Hey, you can play for free.
Claire Extended Cut and Bombing Busters are both also cross-buy with PS4. So good chunk of stuff. I don't normally, every month they come up with this stuff, and I don't normally make a point of pointing it out, but hey man, it's Bloodborne. Like, you get Bloodborne for fucking free. Like, if you have a PlayStation and you have PlayStation Plus, which you probably do, all you got to do is go download it and then tell me about it. Let's all play together. Woo!
Yeah. I mean, I even know. We've had people email us asking for suggestions for games on the PlayStation 4.
Yep.
We've had it over the last couple of weeks, and you know what? If you guys have PlayStation Plus, fucking Bloodborne.
Yeah, and Ratchet and Clank.
Ratchet and Clank.
I mean, like,
yeah.
Like, it's not as good as Bloodborne, but fuck, Ratchet and Clank's a great time.
Oh, no.
And
there's nothing wrong with Ratchet and Clank.
PS4 exclusive. I'm actually thinking, what's currently the PS Plus games?
Knack
Hellblade?
And no,
that's a sale.
It's Knack and
Rhyme. Okay, boo. I mean,
the thing is that the PlayStation Plus for PlayStation 4 specifically, hasn't been that great for the last 3 or 4 months.
Yeah,
they've been okay games, but they've kind of been like the games that either everyone already had or no one
was all that interested in.
Or no one was really all that interested in, and so it's just been kind of like, whatever. So now this is kind of, this is like the first month in a long while where I've been like, fuck yes.
Yep.
And I think like the Xbox ones are a little bit disappointing for whatever the games of the gold are, which I don't.
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head.
I need to renew my gold subscription for Xbox because I let it lapse and.
Okay. What I do know, though, is that in addition to that, this isn't really much of an update. We actually talked about this a long time ago, but pour one out because by the time you hear this podcast, Demon Souls servers shut down.
Well, by the time we're recording this podcast, the Demon Souls servers are shut down.
That's also true, yes. As of February 28th, you can't Demon Souls online anymore. Which is not to say,
single player only.
Yeah, that the single player game isn't fun and good. Most of the time it was just, like invasions of co-op, and then they had events where, like, on Valentine's Day they turned it to it was on Halloween they would shift your world tendency to full black, and then on Christmas I think they shifted it back up to full white, because Demon's Souls has this whole thing where if you die when you're alive, then the game gets harder because fuck you. That's why. I mean, that. So yeah, pour one out for poor Demon Souls. But when you're dancing slow, mournful, nope. In Persona news, Persona 3 and Persona 5 dancing titles are going to have PSVR support.
Yes, they are.
Why?
Oh.
No, but who cares? How? I don't know. Isn't that going to fall off your head if you try to dance with the VR helmet on? Probably.
I think the VR headset's pretty.
Yeah, but have you ever seen the way they dance in those Persona games? They're all over the place.
Good point.
Back and forth, doing stuff. I mean, I'm not saying that the PSVR just keeps slipping off my head or anything, but like, there's a difference between like looking around and having a first-person shooter game and like literally dancing around in your living room.
Good point.
But I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's just going to be like it's not going to be you actually dance with it on. It's like you can just play the game and then you can see where the characters are. Like you can look down on them, and I don't know. Still weird. Speaking of weird, I mentioned this before, but guess what's on the Switch? Outlast.
Oh yeah,
just got dropped on the Switch. Outlast and Whistleblower are $25, and you can get those right now. There's also apparently a pre-order for Outlast 2 that you'll be able to get onto the Switch. So hey, you know what? Whoever it is that's in charge of putting all the games that you ever wanted to play as a handheld on the Switch, good job. You're doing a good job. You're doing the Lord's work. Keep it up. Keep putting games on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
So that's a brand new game that we got to play on the Switch. We got another brand new game that you can play on the PC if you want to, and that's Chrono Trigger. Right up on Steam.
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
Not on Steam. I suppose you haven't actually looked at the...
Oh, no. I have.
Okay.
Yeah. And no, John is right. You shouldn't play this because this is a straight dump of the cell phone port that's kind of gross and stupid and blech.
It's garbage.
Yeah. To the point where they actually have the controls that were up on the cell phone screen on the screen, and then you're supposed to click on them instead of it's a really bad port. It's a
bad port.
Square does this shit all the time though, where they port it to like the phone and they just like dump that port onto the PC with no changes.
Yeah.
So if you want to play Chrono Trigger, do yourself a favor and buy legitimately a cart and then maybe play it on emulation or get
or see if you can get the PlayStation version, the PSN or the original. Like you could get a PS3 and buy it PS1 Classics.
Oh yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah. I mean, I bought it on. It's on my. I have it on my PS3.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's funny because I actually am friends with a friend of mine. Like posted about this on Twitter, and his Twitter blew up because he was apparently the guy to point out that it was that it was just a shit port, and like put out like explanations, and then like he was like, yeah, so for the first time in like a long time, my Twitter has like 9 million views, and I've been quoted on like 4 different news websites.
Yep.
Great.
Yep. Let's see.
But you should play Chrono Trigger if you haven't ever.
You should play Chrono Trigger. You know what else you should play? Let It Die. Because Let It Die is getting some kind of Killer 7 crossover, and I don't know what that is, but I can't wait. It's probably just skins.
Yeah.
But there's
that's a theory. I mean, it could be skins.
Yep.
Or it could just be some update where you load up Let It Die and it says Killer 7. You click on, oh shit, it's the full game for Killer 7.
Yep.
That's not going to happen, but that would be like my hope.
Here's the thing. I still own my copy of Killer 7.
Yeah.
It's an interesting game, but it's not super fun to play. Like, it's this weird on-rails shooter where you have to stop and then hit the scan button and shoot the little and then you blow up or whatever. But I would be more interested in having them do something with the Killer 7 universe than just be able to play Killer 7, because I can already play Killer 7. So,
but can you play it on your PS4, Jeff?
No, I don't need to play it on my PS4. The thing is that Killer 7 is one of those games where, like, you are way better off watching a cutscene compilation on YouTube than you are actually playing that game.
And like I said, I don't even know if that's what's going to happen, because they're being very vague about what it is. They're just saying, hey, we're celebrating our 20th anniversary.
Yep.
We're going to do some crossover with Killer 7.
Yep.
And they said that this is the first announcement of many to celebrate the 20th anniversary. So for all we know, there's going to be a ton more with different games.
Great. Killer 8. And then it ends with Killer 8 because, I don't know. Apparently Let It Die is making enough money for Suda that they keep putting in like World of Tanks thing going on. It doesn't seem like it's been bad for them.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like it's making money. And last but not least, one addendum and then a quick thing. So last week when I was talking, actually the entire time that I was talking about Metal Gear Survive, a lot of people pointed this out that so when you start up Metal Gear Survive and you go to choose your character, there are a bunch of little locks next to your character. I'm pretty sure everybody knows this by now, but apparently those individual save slots that you can pick to make more than one character Metal Gear Survive cost money. That I did not factor in when I was playing the game, and I was saying nice things about it. That's kind of total bullshit. But it's also like, I don't know why the fuck you would want more than one character in Metal Gear Survive. It's not a deep enough game that you're like, well, I need to have a guy and then a girl and then what. Maybe once you beat the game, because the character that I have has a very specific skill set.
He has a very specific set of skills.
Like this, and I don't know why I would need more than one character, but it's still shitty for them to put a bunch of locks there, and then when you hit the thing, it goes to basically you have to use money to unlock it.
Yeah,
so,
that's kind of shitty.
But that's not the story that I have. The story that I have is that apparently in Metal Gear Survive, at the very beginning of the game, there was a part where, I don't know if you've seen this, John.
Yes.
Where there are a bunch of units that are lost that are on a clipboard, and their guy is rolling down the clipboard, like looking at them. If you take the first letter of all of the units that are not dead, it says KGP, it's Kojima Productions, FOREVER, Kojima Productions Forever.
Yeah. Did you also notice the two names are listed as MIA?
Yes. Which is
basically the people who made this game.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting. Whoever it was that found that, good job. That seems like the sort of thing that would probably happen.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is all the news that we have, but we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we are going to answer some questions, so stick around. And it's time for questions. John, are you ready for questions?
Sure.
Okay. MailRageSuck.com is the email address, and our first question this week comes in from Vinny. This isn't actually, it's sort of a question. I'm going to read this. Vinny is, I'll read this and we can talk about it a little bit. Vinny writes and says, hello, Jeff and John. My name is Vinny, and I've been a fan since Loading Bar. Apologies ahead of time for the long question. For your next sequential, you've picked Bayonetta, a game that I have a personal vendetta against. And here's why, as it will lead into my question. I'm a fan of Super Smash Bros. And Nintendo games in general. In Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U and 3DS, the final DLC that they did a thing called the Smash Ballot, where you could vote on any character that you wanted to appear in Smash. Bayonetta was the winner, and she made it into the game. In the months leading up to the Smash Ballot character, there was speculation on which character it would be, and she was on no one's radar, and that led people to think that it was rigged. I was pissed. To this day, I do not understand how a company that has a reputation of being family-friendly would attach themselves to a controversial game and still continue to put money into it. My question is, do you think that she will return in the next Smash Brothers at the risk of controversy? There was no controversy last time except from angry fans, or will it have one less character? And then also he says, I will be taking a step back from Rage Select, but I'll continue to listen to the podcast. Vinny. So, Vinny really does not like Bayonetta very much. I do like Bayonetta.
Yeah, same here.
But I wanted to use this to talk about something. But first, let's answer the question. So, do you think that Bayonetta will be in the next Smash Brothers?
So my immediate reaction is if they re-release Smash Brothers for the Wii U on
the Switch,
on the Switch,
yeah,
then yes, she will be in there.
Yeah.
Now, if it's a completely new Smash Brothers game, part of me says no, because they'll probably try to do like a different, because it really feels like ever since they did the surprise characters that are not actually owned by Nintendo,
right,
thing, that they kind of want to switch it up.
Yeah.
Outside of like Sonic, was Sonic in the last one?
I don't remember, to be honest. I don't think so.
Yeah, so it kind of seems like they kind of want to switch it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't think they will, because while Nintendo is the publisher for Bayonetta now, or the licensed publisher or whatever, or has the exclusivity license to Bayonetta.
Yes.
Sega, it's still a Sega character.
Yes.
So I don't think they will, just based on that, because I think they'll switch. I think they want to switch it up.
Okay.
And we'll probably try to get like some other character that'll make you go, wait, what?
I think that she'll be in there in some way, shape, or form, because Nintendo has definitely put money into Bayonetta, especially with the re-release of... What's that?
Maybe it'll be Rodin.
Yes, that's right. No, it's got to be, what's his name? The Joe Pesci guy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no! I think that they put enough money into the Bayonetta franchise now, with the re-release of 1 on the Wii U, and then 1 and 2, and then 2 on the Switch, and then coming up with 3. I think that Nintendo has put enough money in there, and that the rosters on Smash Brother games are so big that they will probably continue to have her in there.
Maybe.
Now, as to Vinny's question, this is more what I wanted to talk about. Vinny, if you don't want to watch very select videos, this is not a. He wrote this into the questions, so this wasn't like I pulled a comment or anything. So he wanted to volunteer this information, but I did want to talk briefly about, because it's an interesting topic, and we've talked about it a few times, about the idea that. How, let's say, to this day, I do not understand how a company that has a reputation of being family-friendly would attach themselves to a controversial game and still continue to put money into it. I think that that's interesting, because Nintendo hasn't always had that reputation.
Yeah.
That was mostly something that came from the Wii. Like, you got to remember, we were just talking about Killer 7. Killer 7's a fucked up game.
If you look at the GameCube's library, they had, fucking
Eternal Darkness, Resident Evil 4, the re-releases of Resident Evil.
The N64 had GoldenEye, had violent games with blood, and like they weren't.
Yeah,
they maybe were considered the more kid-friendly out of all the consoles, but they weren't like the kid-friendly company.
I think that the difference, or that what might be tripping you up a little bit, I'm not trying to say, you hold your own opinions, Vinny. I'm not trying to like bag on you or anything, but the way that I see this happening was that when the Wii happened, the Wii started this idea that the Nintendo console was primarily a driver for Nintendo games, and Nintendo does not generally tend to create games that are. They generally tend to create very family-friendly games that anybody can play. However, Nintendo has a long history. I mean, all the way back to the NES. I mean, fucking Metal Gear was out on the NES. Eternal Darkness. I mean, there's been dark games. Sweet Home, even though it was never put out here, the precursor to the original Resident Evil, that was an NES game. That was a Famicom game. There have been games on Nintendo systems up until around the Wii that I feel like were more adult oriented. They had a split between like there's plenty of stuff for children, but there's also things for and this ties into a thing that I don't know if people have forgotten, but like there was a whole thing when the Wii was released and going forward where there were a lot of gamers who were not happy with Nintendo for taking this, for relying so heavily on the Wii's gimmick and the first party implementation. Okay, let me straighten this out. The Wii was unable to play a lot of the games that were coming out around the same time for the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. So you couldn't just port an Xbox 360 game or a PS3 game onto the Wii. Nintendo was very much hardcore pushing the motion controls, and so what I felt like was there were a lot of publishers kind of moved back away. There was one Call of Duty or something on there.
Yeah, there was one Call of Duty that got abandoned pretty quickly.
Yeah, and there were some attempts to kind of bring a little bit more adult-oriented games to the Wii, but because of the Wii's hardware limitations and because those developers were putting so much money into making these games for the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, they didn't want to port those games onto the Wii because the Wii, they would have had to have a graphical downgrade. They would have had to be reworked.
A lot of companies even like opted that a completely development studio would create a game, the Wii version of it,
right?
Completely, like it would follow the same story, plot. It would had some similar mechanics, but it was a completely different studio to make it. Like, for example, the Ghostbusters video game.
Right.
The Xbox and PS4 version is completely different than the Wii version. The Wii version had a very cartoony style of artwork to it and everything.
And that was probably due to limitations of the hardware more than anything else. Then when the Wii U came out, I feel like the problem there is that we saw that the Wii U was technically in the first year that it was out more powerful than the PS3 and the Xbox 360. So there was the potential for companies to put their software on the Wii U, but the year after the Wii U was released, the PS4 and the Xbox One came out, and so once again you were in a position where Nintendo's console was weaker in a graphical and hardware capability than the current console. So when you talked about taking a game that was on, say, the PlayStation 4 and moving it to the Wii U, you were talking about a downgrade, you were talking about reworking certain things, talking about a different kind of delivery stuff, and that family-friendly reputation they built up in the Wii era got moved forward into the Wii U era. But that's not for lack of trying, because not just Bayonetta 2, but, Fatal Frame, that was very much a horror, straight-up J-horror game.
I mean, there was the Darksiders 2 that was supposed to be on. I don't know if it ever came out.
I don't remember that either. But, I mean, you had stuff like Zombie U. There were games that had blood and guts in them, as opposed to the other thing. I mean, let's remember here that, Fatal Frame is not exactly a game for children. It's also not exactly an uncontroversial game. There was a lot of weird stuff in the Wii U era. Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE, had that weird thing about in Japan the characters were of a lower age than they were presented in the United States version. They had some kind of weird censorship stuff in the localization. There's this whole thing about Nintendo localizing out sexual content that's in, like, I think in Fatal Frame there was even sexy bikini costumes that were in the Japanese version that then got taken out in the American version and replaced with like Nintendo specific things. I think like a Samus costume, right? But Nintendo as a company, I think that the idea that they're this like very clean cut family friendly thing is a recent thing over the last decade or so.
You could also and again, I am going to play devil's advocate here.
Sure, go for it, man.
The SNES days, they had Mortal Kombat remove the blood. That was a big thing. So people always thought, SNES is for babies because they're not allowed to have blood in their games.
Yep.
But then, with the N64 and GameCube, they kind of got away from that. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's the stigma has been there. But, I get what you're saying is that it's not, the stigma's there, but that's not always the stigma is not always the case.
Yeah. And then in addition, the idea that there's a lot of controversy around Bayonetta is interesting. I don't know how much controversy because original Bayonetta, and I hate to go into this category, but I didn't see that many people outside of Anita Sarkeesian that were really just
there was a lot of controversy, mostly in the marketing of the game, because there was the whole thing in the UK there was like a billboard in a subway
that was in
Japan where it had like a bunch of essentially like post-it notes or something like that, and then as you take it's a take one and you took it and it basically was her naked.
Right.
It did little stuff like that. Like the marketing kind of really rubbed people the wrong way as far as people were outraged about it.
But I mean, I didn't see any outrage about Bayonetta 2.
Yeah.
I didn't see anybody who was just like, boo, no Bayonetta 2.
I feel like by Bayonetta 2, the people who wanted to complain weren't going to complain, and the people who wanted to play it were going to play it.
Right. I do.
Matter of fact, I mean, hell, when I think what was it at that one press event or whatever where they announced Bayonetta 2 is coming to the Wii U, fans cheered.
Yeah,
there was excitement. People were just so happy, oh my god, finally.
Yep. And I also think that Bayonetta is and this is something that I want to discuss more with Amanda while we're playing Bayonetta. But I feel that Bayonetta also gets a bad rap because there is this kind of over the top sexiness in it.
Yeah.
But the story of Bayonetta's not it's not like she has to be a naked hair witch because a curse was put on her. Like Bayonetta owns her shit, right?
Yeah.
Like and that's the weird thing where I feel like, the people that don't like Bayonetta, that Bayonetta is a strong, sexy lady, and so is the thing that you can't have a strong, sexy lady in your game because she's not. It's not like but she deep at heart she just wants to be a housewife and she's just pining over this guy. Like that's not the story of Bayonetta. Bayonetta is clearly in charge of the way that she looks, the way that she acts, the way that she talks, what she does. Like, so as a character, it's always been strange to me that if anybody was upset about a sexual character, I don't know. It's something that I've wrestled with for years because
I feel like, and this is, again, I feel like what they're upset about is that not that she herself is a strong, sexual, confident woman.
Right.
It's that it's a strong, sexual, confident woman who's very sexualized, but comfortable with her, who owns her sexuality.
Right.
But who is written by a man.
Oh, okay.
Like, I feel like that's it.
Now, I think that, if I'm not mistaken, she was designed by a woman.
Yeah, no, she was.
But
it's
okay.
I think a lot of it is, had it been a female director, like an all-female, like the head female people being like, this is the game we wanted to make, and this is the way we wrote her, maybe a little bit less. I mean, there would still be some outrage, like Anita Sarkeesian would probably still be like hating everything.
Yeah.
But
Anita Sarkeesian is like the fact that there's violence in Bloodborne, so
yeah. but the point is that it's, I feel like there would be a little bit less of it there, and I also feel like, that's not my place to say either because I'm a white dude. I'm a white male.
I just haven't heard a very compelling argument.
But, yeah.
I mean, is it? It seems strange to me. I don't know. It's a real strange conversation, and I have no. I've largely just stepped back away from culture war stuff and just been like, you guys do whatever you feel like. But so, like, if Bayonetta the game was written by a woman, but it was the exact same game, then it would be all right. But if it's written by a man and it's the exact same game, then it's exploitative. It's a little like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Does the entire staff have to be women?
Yeah,
does and then does that make it okay that if the exact same game existed, but the entire staff that made that game, from the CEO of the company on down, were all ladies, but it was still this like over the top sexualized character whose clothes come off when she does the big hair attacks and whatnot? Is that okay? And if so, that seems a little strange to me.
Yeah,
but
no, I agree.
In any case, Vinny, I'm sorry that you feel so strongly. I actually think Bayonetta is a hell of a game.
Oh, it's a great game.
I think it's a hell of a game, and
I know you guys are playing it for the sequential. Because I bought it. I've been playing it myself and just enjoying the shit out of it. I forgot how much I really, really, really. I mean, I always say I really love that game, and then I play it, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I really love this game. Like, it's so over the top. It's so fun to play.
Yep. But I also think it has a really good story.
It does have a good story.
Really good combat system. It's got a lot of stuff. Like, that's the thing that I always try to talk about, is that a lot of times Bayonetta gets talked about explicitly because she is like a sexualized character, but like Bayonetta the game isn't Galgun. Yeah. Bayonetta the game isn't just a vehicle to show Bayonetta as having her clothes off. It's not like there are plenty of games out there that fall into that category of this is just like kind of sleazy wank material. Or not even that may be a little bit harsh, but things like Senran Kagura, where there's definitely a titillation factor in there, and there's some of that in Bayonetta, but it's like 20% of a really good game, as opposed to something like Galgun, where it's like 90% of the game is look at these anime girls that get off when you shoot them with your Cupid laser or whatever, or Senran Kagura, where it's like, well, you gotta beat this lady up until her clothes come off, and then put her on top of the pommel horse and spank her, and it's like, Bayonetta never gets spanked. Bayonetta does the spanking. So, there. In any case, Vinny, I think that she will be in the next game. I don't think that Nintendo. There's another, and I don't want to linger on this for too much longer, but there's another vector here that is the difference between how Japan thinks about sex and sexual characters and how we in America think about sex and sexual characters. Yeah. Like, they did some stuff in Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE about, blurring out some of the fan service, look at the panties and stuff, but it was still it was still a game about this kind of idol, and there was some kind of sexualization. So the whole thing, I feel like, is on a weird scale that it depends on how much, where you are on that scale about how it offends you or if it seems difficult to you. I don't think, but at the end of the day, the real statement here is that I feel like the Switch has definitely been Nintendo walking back that family-friendly.
That's why we've got Doom. That's why we've got Skyrim. That's
I mean, L.A. Noire, is a grown-up game. No child wants to play L.A. Noire.
Yeah,
that there's a lot of games on the Switch, and that Outlast just came out. Outlast is not a game for children. Outlast is a game about horrible violence in an insane asylum. Outlast has full frontal male nudity in it, right?
Yeah,
and that's on a Nintendo console as well. So I think that Nintendo is trying to kind of go back to their days, and I start to wonder whether the whole reason that they were seen as family friendly was because you just didn't have as many third-party companies putting out games on the platform. So what you were getting was primarily Nintendo games that tended to be a little bit more family friendly, because Nintendo doesn't really. Is there a Nintendo franchise that you can think of that isn't family friendly? It's like Kirby,
no,
Metroid.
All their stuff
nothing.
is all their stuff is family friendly.
So I think that's more what you're seeing than anything else. But
yeah.
Our next question this week comes in from not signed. Okay, I'm going to call you. I can call you Al. Al writes in and says, "Hello, noble Sir Jeffington and his trusty squire Jonathan." I don't know. What was the last movie that you cried at or hit you really hard emotionally? I saw The Shape of Water 5 times in 3 weeks when it was at the theater, and I cried each time. Big, tough, manly tears with ripped biceps. P.S. If you like horror movies, sci-fi horror movies, check out Annihilation. It's pretty good. That's 2 votes for Annihilation.
Yeah.
Do you cry big, manly tears at movies?
It depends. I would say Shape of Water kind of did. I started to tear up.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't like full on cry, but that did kind of make me like tear up a little bit.
Okay.
I can't really. I know that there's been movies that I've cried like while watching, and I've unfortunately off the top of my head I can't think of what those movies are. But I'm sure that there's been a few. Like I will say, like, there's definitely a few comics that have made me cry, and I have said that if I hope to God, like every time I hear about movies that are getting or comics that are getting adapted into movies, like I'm actually really worried about going to see I Kill Giants because that comic made me bawl like a child.
Okay,
just because it hit very close to home for me.
Okay,
in what it's about. And then I hope to God they never make a movie based on We 3, because that's another comic that made me bawl like a child.
I'm trying to find like a list.
And every time I hear about like, oh, so and so's gonna adapt or has got the rights to adapt the comic We 3, I'm like, no, don't do it, because I want to go see it because it's so good, but I don't want to cry.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Just recently, I was watching Breaking Bad again.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is, but there is a thing in media about moms protecting children that really chokes me up. I don't know what specifically it is, but there's a part very much towards the end of Breaking Bad where things go really bad for Walter White, and I'm trying to think of what the last movie was that really kind of choked me up. Let's see, not Justice League and not Disaster Artist. I'm trying to think of last movie that really emotionally got to me.
Yeah, it also sucks that I haven't really gone to the movies in a long while.
Yeah.
And like that's something that we're trying to fix now that we're able to, but it's just like, yeah, I can't think of what.
I feel like there's been a lot recently that have been just very kind of, I mean, like I watched Atomic Blonde and, that Mute movie and stuff like that.
I'm worried that Coco will make me cry.
I bet
that's a big one that I'm worried would make me cry.
Let's see, did I cry in The Last Jedi? I think that was the last one where I teared up at the very end. a little bit. I don't think I actually like boo-hoo-hooed my way all the way through it, but that was probably the last one that. But I'm, it's funny. Also, kind of a softy for a lot of this stuff. It doesn't take a lot to get me going. I also a lot of times, unless a thing is bad, I don't necessarily cry as much as I will just get really emotional and kind of tear up a little bit. There's a part towards the end of Thor Ragnarok, which I assume you still haven't seen.
Nope, because it doesn't come out on Blu-ray until like next week.
I was at Best Buy, and I remembered that because I went looking for the Blu-ray. I was like, I'm just going to buy this fucking Blu-ray and then be like, John, Amanda, watch this, please. I want somebody to tell me how good Thor Ragnarok.
No, trust me, I know, because Amanda was like, "Do you want to just go like buy like Thor?" And I was like, "Doesn't come out till next week."
Yeah, and you don't do the digitals.
Nah, not really.
Which I can totally understand. Holy God, there's a lot of movies. Yeah, sorry, I don't know that I can really answer that. I think probably Last Jedi, but
yeah.
Speaking of movies, Mike writes in and says, Dear Jeff and John, is the end of Blu-ray and DVD coming due to declining box office sales, with less people going to the movie theater, forcing movie companies going to online-only sales for the movie purchase after they're released in theaters? This would directly help movie companies, and Blu-rays and DVDs could end like Blockbuster. P.S. Blockbuster is still in business in Alaska where the internet is unavailable. Rage on from Mike.
So, I don't... I am probably the last person to speak on this. Like I still buy physical media. I still buy DVDs and Blu-rays. Like I buy mostly Blu-rays for new stuff, but if it's not available on Blu-ray, I buy DVDs. I like having physical media in case of those situations where the internet ain't there. I have a way to access it.
Sure.
Do I think it's going away anytime soon? Probably not. I do wonder if the format. It's kind of weird because I feel like they're trying to really push 4K Blu-rays and then like phase out. Like I feel like there's this like desire to make Blu-rays and 4K Blu-rays the media and phase out DVDs.
Okay, but
companies are still putting out DVDs like in mass.
Yeah,
because no one has a fucking 4K player at the moment.
Sure.
I don't know. I don't think the physical media is going to go anywhere for a while. I think it might be get smaller. Which, definitely there are locations like Best Buy and Fry's Electronics where the DVD and Blu-ray sections have definitely shrunk over the last couple of years. But I don't think they're going to go away anytime soon.
It seems like it's mostly for, when I was at Best Buy the other day, it seems like I walked into the one thing and it was just big movies. There was nothing... it was mostly just, what I saw, Star Wars. I picked up the Blu-ray pack of the original Star Wars and looked at it. But, it was Coco and Star Wars and Justice League and, things like that, as opposed to smaller stuff.
Yeah. That's actually something that actually does make me a little bit sad, is that I am very much a proponent of going to Best Buy or going to... an actual physical store somewhere, and then looking at not the big stuff, but just the smaller stuff and going, you know what, I'm going to buy this because this title has been staring at me every time I come in here. And like, there's an old movie. It was released by Arrow Video. Arrow Home Video is they're kind of like a Criterion version of like Shout Factory. Like they do like horror movies and they do like really good special edition releases of them. There's a movie called Wolf Guy. I don't know anything about the movie other than the fact that it's called Wolf Guy.
Yeah.
And I fucking want to buy it. I just want to go buy it every time I'm in there. I want to walk out with it. Or the fact that, I walked into Fry's a few months back and walked out with, paying $30 and had a 200 movie DVD set of 200 random fucking movies. Like I like doing stuff like that. Cause I do watch those sometimes. And there's the part of me that does that likes the fact that I can go to a store and just buy random shit.
Right.
But it also feels like sometimes like I just buy my stuff on Amazon because that's the only place I'm going to get it.
To answer your question, I don't think they'll ever go away entirely.
Yeah.
I think that if anything, that you'll probably end up with a boutique market like records, where for people who just like, because I just want to watch the movie. Like, I just want to watch Thor. I don't care about director's cut. I don't care if I can't watch it when the internet's down. I gotta so many things. Like, when I'm not sitting in front of a screen, I'm reading my book, and the book doesn't have to be online. So, I don't mind buying stuff digitally because I already look at. I own a shitload of DVDs from back when you had to have a DVD to watch a movie, and I don't watch them. Like, I don't go back and watch my old DVDs. I legit bought a shitload of DVDs back in the old days. I don't watch them. Like, if I want to watch a thing, I generally just pay $3 and rent it on the PlayStation Network or Amazon or whatever, rather than dig through the hundreds of old discs laying around in my house to find that one movie that I want to watch.
Yeah, but that's also the other difference. I don't just leave discs lying around my house.
Well, no.
I actually keep all my discs in their cases on shelves.
But I think that there's a difference between people who just want to watch Thor, and people who want to see the behind the scenes and the extras, and the commentary track.
I'm definitely one of those people that I want to see all that stuff. I love extra features on discs. Like, it actually infuriates me when the only extra feature is a fucking trailer.
Yeah, so I can see a world where the digital release is, $8, right? But then the Blu-ray release that has 4 discs and a making of and blah 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 is like $50 because it's for the cinephile people who really are into
Did you
all
say
of the
50 or 15?
50.
Yeah, no, fuck you. I'm not paying $50 for a goddamn Blu-ray.
Okay, I mean, I don't think that we're anywhere near that point. Even though I think that it's because a lot of people are moving to digital only, but they underestimate the huge number of people who either want the physical copy or don't live in a place with a steady internet connection or what.
In all honesty, I look at it as books.
Yeah.
Ebooks are around. They're pretty popular. A lot of people read stuff on ebooks. Books ain't going anywhere.
Yep.
Like, I don't care how popular ebooks get, digital versions of books get, regular books ain't going anywhere.
You know what? If all you regular book readers want to keep murdering trees, that's your business. I'm doing my part to save the planet by not buying book 10 of my series on.
Well, I'm just saying, and as someone who buys comics on Comixology, digital comics all the time,
right?
I still want my physical trades. I want my physical books that I can pull off a shelf and also loan out to friends and all that stuff. So it's
Oh, man.
I don't really loan out to friends, though, because the last couple times I did that, I never got them back.
Yeah, I know. I used to own all of Cerebus, and then I loaned them to a friend.
Yeah,
and all of Sandman as well.
Yeah.
That all got
I had a large chunk of Walking Dead and a large chunk of Invincible that a roommate loaned out to his friend who didn't live in the same state as us. Like, the friend came to visit, and he's like, oh, you can borrow them. Loaned out my fucking books. Never got them back.
Boo. Well, our next one comes in from Jay. Jay writes in and says, Dear Jeff and John, I've written it a few times now. Thanks for answering my questions. You guys
welcome.
Are awesome. My question today is about conventions. I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan, so much so that it will feature in my upcoming wedding. Oh, congratulations. With this in mind, my local city in Manchester, UK, has just announced a Game of Thrones convention, and I bought tickets on the spot for me and my fiance. We're both super excited.
Nice.
Any idea on what we can expect? Neither of us have ever been to a fan convention before. Should I bring body armor and a gas mask, or should I dress as Jon Snow? Please don't stop doing this, Jeff. Sounds like times are hard, numbers are dropping, but the show is the best podcast, so let's do it on a weekly basis. If I could be a patron, I would, but weddings are expensive. Thanks, Jay.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Yes,
we ain't having one.
You should dress. No, what you need to do is you need to find a pun about Jon Snow, and then that's how you dress up, like a Coke fiend version called John Blow, or Jon Snow Cone, and then you have a bunch of snow cones, because there's going to be a lot of Jon Snows. I'm just trying to warn you right now.
Yeah, so I'm going to be honest. I've never gone to a convention that is specifically for one thing, though I may be doing that later this year. But typically, mostly what I've gone to are sci-fi and fantasy conventions or comic book conventions, and things like that. Which, I can tell you expect a lot of people to be dressed up. Oh, you know what? And if you want to dress up, I say do it. That's do it. That's fun. You dress up, have fun, walk around. As far as what to expect there, if it's an official, like if there's like they may have some of the cast there for signings. They may have panels where they talk, where the cast members talk about stuff, if assuming they're there. People who work on it. I really don't know what would go on at a Game of Thrones convention other than a dealer room with probably other like books, like an artist alley kind of thing that has like authors of other fantasy books and merchandise for game, stores selling, booths selling Game of Thrones merch, and they probably will also include some other fantasy stuff as well that's tangentially connected. But yeah, I don't really know.
Okay.
Because, like I said, I'll fucking actually say what I'm going to later this year. I'm going to Power Morphicon, which is the biannual Power Rangers convention. Literally, it's just Power Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to have a bunch of the cast of people. The cast of the show, the different Power Ranger shows are going to be there. They're also probably going to make an announcement of what the next announce the cast of the next Power Ranger show. There'll be probably tons of merchandise and of stuff, and there'll be panels and discussions and all that kind of stuff, and then obviously people in costumes and everything. So I don't really know what to expect other than that.
Okay.
For that.
Well, I have also kind of a limited experience with conventions, Jay, but I can tell you this: bring as much money as you can afford to waste, because the main thing with these conventions is that you are. Like the last time when I went to the Austin Comic-Con, the main thing is you want to have money to be able to do stuff, because there's going to be a lot of places probably with signings, where when I went to the Austin Comic Convention, I went with a friend of mine, and Matt Smith was there.
Yeah, you had to pay to get his an autograph or a picture or something like that.
Yeah, you paid a different amount for different things. So you pay a certain amount to get an autograph, and you pay a certain amount to get a picture, and then you pay a certain amount for an autograph picture. And she did that with a few of the different people that were there.
Yeah.
So you're probably going to want to do that. Looking over, I actually pulled up a news report. It looks like the people that are going to be there are I don't know. These are some kind of second tier Game of Thrones people, but there's going to be makeup stuff there. The main thing is that you're probably going to want to buy some stuff. You're going to be able to buy merchandise. Because there's probably going to be a pretty good chunk of things there. And if you're a big enough Game of Thrones fan to go to a Game of Thrones convention, you may want that sword that Jon Snow has, which will probably be like $250 or something like that. So I'd say however much money you can afford to spend, bring that with you. Wear comfortable shoes.
Definitely wear comfortable shoes. So if you're going to be cosplaying, make sure whatever shoes you're wearing are comfortable.
Yep.
And nicely worn in and not uncomfortable. Like if you're not gonna, if you honestly don't want to cosplay, if you're like, I don't want to go dressed up as Jon Snow, then don't, man. People are gonna see, you're gonna see it, but also you don't need to be dressed up to go to and have fun at a convention.
If you dress up though, you are probably going to be you might be attracting attention. I mean, like if you're a particularly good or interesting character, people might have to take their picture with you. I can almost guarantee you that they're going to have that Iron Throne there for you to sit on and take your picture.
Yeah, totally.
You're going to need to wait in line for that. They're probably going to have that Oculus on the wall experience, which has been floating around for a while. So, you do that. That's pretty cool. I think it's just like you're standing up on top of the wall looking around and stuff all over the place. But yeah, for the most part, I would say bring money, set aside a lot of time, and don't get hung up on trying to I would say make a plan, but don't get hung up on trying to do everything, because you don't want to be so stressed out by trying to hit your goals that you're not enjoying yourself. If there are panels, you should probably figure out which ones you want to go to and get there early to get into the panels.
And usually they will list panels and scheduling prior to the convention, so you can kind of plan ahead, and then usually they'll announce any changes the day of.
And
keep a program guide handy, because usually those will have a map.
That's true.
And everything of where everything is.
Yep. And that's about all I know. Have fun, Jay.
Yeah, definitely. Have fun.
Let's see. Sam from the UK writes in and says, Dear Jeff and John, as of this time, I'm currently approaching the end of my over 100-hour journey in Persona 5, and while I'm eager to see how it will all come together, I'm a little sad to see it all come to an end. Over the last few months, I've really found a connection with many of these characters and their stories, particularly with how they dive into the many problems we can face in life at such a young age. My question is this: what should be my next adventure? It doesn't have to be just a video game. It could be a book, a comic, a TV series, an anime, you name it. I only ask that it has a cast of colorful characters on one hell of an adventure that you think would put a smile on my face. I'm not partial to any particular genre. However, I do tend to go for fantasy and sci-fi myself. Hope this question wasn't too much of a bother, and I look forward to hopefully hearing both of your suggested picks very soon. From a longtime fan, Sam from the UK. We got a lot of UK this week.
Yeah.
Oh, also, by the way, would like to just briefly mention, I should actually just do this on Twitter. Somebody added me on Twitter, and they were like, hey, for the next sequential, what about Persona 5? And I just responded with a screenshot from How Long to Beat with the average playtime 95 hours circled with red with a bunch of arrows pointing to it.
Yeah.
And they were just like, well, fuck, excuse me. It wasn't meant to be that. It was mostly just that, like, you got to remember, 95 hours at a median means that it probably is going to be more like 100 hours. And if we do 1 hour episodes, that's 2 years of sequential. Like, that's a single sequential that lasts for 2 years. And given the way that every sequential we've ever done goes down in, like, it starts out strong and then it loses people. Red Dead lost people as we continued playing it, right? We could barely crack 1,000 by the end of Red Dead Redemption. So that person, I just wanted to be like, I am sorry if that came off as very harsh. Anyway, so Sam wants to know where to go next from Persona. What do you got, John, for big, sweeping things that you can go and get into and get lost in for a long period of time?
Oh, for a long period of time?
You know what you could do?
Super Sentai. I don't know.
Okay, you have a PlayStation 4, right? This person obviously has a PlayStation 4. If you went out and bought, I don't know how much it costs, but if you went out and bought yourself a PlayStation 3, in addition to your PlayStation 4, you could play Yakuza 0, Yakuza Kiwami. Probably by the time you're done with those two games, Yakuza Kiwami 2 will be out. And then if you have a PlayStation 3, you could jump back and play, I think that 3 is on the PlayStation. Let me see where 3 is. I know that 4 and 5 are on the PlayStation, and then by the time you get done, Yakuza 3 is a PlayStation 3 game. So you play Yakuza 3, 4, and 5 on the PlayStation 3, and then by that time, Yakuza 6 will be out on the PlayStation 4, way past that time. But if you're asking about a colorful group of characters that get into wacky situations with a long story plot, I mean, like, I was amazed when Matt and I played that Yakuza 6 prologue, such as it was, where I was just like, oh, yeah, I remember that guy. That's the loan shark from 4. And, yeah, that's like the girl in Yakuza 6 is the 8-year-old that was in Yakuza original. And look, it's Goro Majima. He's back for 6. Yay! You know, and like, oh, it's that guy. And I remember in 4, this one thing happened, and then that led to this other thing in 5. And then just, like, it's actually kind of incredible where Yakuza is a single running story that actually, I don't know that any of these games have a really bad reputation.
Yeah, no, I've never heard of a bad reputation for any of them. I would honestly just say Yakuza 0 and Yakuza Kiwami are definitely ones to check out if you haven't already.
Yeah. As far as RPGs, sci-fi, fantasy goes, you're looking for a big old long adventure full of a lot of different interesting people. Witcher fucking 3 is right there. With its gajillion hours, and then it's gajillion hour DLC, and then it's other gajillion hour DLC. So, like, you know, that. If you're looking for a Japanese game and you like Persona, you may consider picking up for a song a Wii U and maybe check out Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE, which is I thought was a very good game. Yeah. Very fun. If you do get a PlayStation 3, you can play Persona 4 on your PlayStation 3, which I think is very, very good. It's got a much more lazy countryside atmosphere than Persona 5, which is very much kind of in the big bad city. As far as other things that kind of fall into that category, I'm trying to think of what some of the longer, like... there's a good anime that's got a shitload of episodes, but kind of falls into that category. I don't really go for animes that are like that, though. I don't know. I've talked about a lot of science fiction books. I'm currently working on this Honor Harrington series, which I'm on book 9 of 13. That's a real long, sprawling thing where you just sit back and read stuff. I've been a big fan, big proponent for years and years and years of the Dune books, where you can just sit down and plow through all 6 of those, and each one of them's like 500 or 600 pages. They're pretty big. What about comic series, John? Long running comic series. It's worth kind of maybe beginning like maybe Preacher or Transmet or
Transmet are both great. Transmet's great. Matter of fact, I've been kind of wanting to reread Transmet, and I realized I don't have any copies of it.
I have all of them.
Yeah,
I have like half of them in trade and then half in single issues, but I never know where they are.
I think the last volume of the omnibus for Transmet is supposed to come out soon. I need to see if I can find the other volumes so that I can have all of it.
My lady...
Preacher's pretty good.
I think like Good Adventure. What about like Rat Queens? I hear good stuff.
Rat Queens is pretty good. There's another good one called Birthright, which is a kind of a fantasy. It starts with the... Birthright is actually kind of cool because it starts with the idea of, those movies like... the Neverending Story, where like the chosen one from Earth goes to the other world, and becomes like the chosen hero and saves that world, and then goes back home.
Yeah.
Well, this is the story of what happens when he goes back home.
Oh, okay. Ooh, I got one.
Go ahead.
Bone.
Bone's pretty good.
You can pick up Bone in a giant, big, thick ass book.
Yes, you can.
It goes on and on and on, but it's a solid series.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good.
It's too bad that, like I was talking before, it's too bad that Cerberus goes so fucking far off the rails, because the first like 4 omnibuses of Cerberus were actually pretty good before Dave Sim went fucking nuts.
Yeah, he went very nuts. But like I'm trying to think of like a good like long running sci-fi comic, and like
Saga.
Saga's a good one, yeah.
I've been meaning to check that out, but I just don't really have access to comics.
Like the weirdest thing is I keep wanting to recommend like Starman. Like
Starman's great.
The fucking James Robinson Starman run. Like I know they released in hardcover volumes. I don't know if they ever re-released it in softcover.
Yeah.
But like, oh man, that James Robinson run on Starman's fucking. Like, that's like. And you think of it, it's like, oh, it's DC Comics, and it's a character that takes place in DC Comics. It must be all about tights and superheroes and stuff. It's kind of it is about that, sort of, but it's also kind of not about that.
Yep,
like it's about someone who is a legacy hero who doesn't want to be the legacy hero.
And you will know whether you're interested in Starman after when you finish the first book of Starman.
But yeah, Starman's good.
I was to say, my lady friend just ordered the first volume of The Invisibles.
Oh, yeah,
Invisibles. And I was like, oh, man, you do not know what you're getting into here.
I would even say along those same lines, Grant Morrison's Animal Man's pretty good, too.
I'm a big fan of Grant Morrison. I know a lot of people don't like his Batman run, but like before
his Batman run was great.
Was it? Okay. I feel like there's a certain amount of the internet that just like doesn't like Grant Morrison.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's seen as the less crazy. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. He's seen as the equal but opposite Alan Moore.
Yeah.
Like some people look at him and go, oh, he's the less crazy Alan Moore. And then some people look at him and go, no, he's actually more crazy than Alan Moore. He's just more successful.
Yeah.
At not burning bridges. But yeah, Promethea was a good one. It was a kind of a...
Gets real heavy, though.
Yeah, it does get a little heavy.
All those are good, though. Promethea, Tom Strong, and Top 10. All of those America's Best Comics.
Yeah.
Alan Moore written ones. Top 10 is a trip and a half. It's not all that long. It's only got 2 volumes. Well, Alan Moore wrote 2 volumes, and there's a prequel one that was pretty good. But I'm trying to think of some of the longer comic series that I've read. I don't know. The problem with that is that there's runs. Like I think the Grant Morrison's run on Justice League is very good.
The only Grant Morrison book I really couldn't get into was The Filth. Yeah, I bought that on the recommendation because I was really into like Grant. Like I started reading a lot of Grant Morrison stuff, and a friend of mine was like, "Oh, well, then you got to read The Filth because that's the next one in line, and it's fucking great." And I read, I was like, "Yeah, this is garbage. I hate this book."
I think that The Filth is a very unrestrained Grant Morrison, which can sometimes be a good thing and can sometimes be a bad thing.
Yeah,
I like Grant Morrison more when it's like this guy who's bringing this weird sensibility and creativity to the Justice League, which he can't fuck with. Like, Grant Morrison can't fuck with the Justice League. Like, New X-Men was maybe just the right amount of fucking with that I want Grant Morrison to be able to do. But The Filth is just... I like The Filth, but I recognize The Filth is not for most people.
Yeah. If you're wanting like some like kind of strange Grant Morrison like stuff, like if you're familiar with Grant Morrison comics, the current Young Animal DC line, which is basically being headed by Jared Way of My Chemical Romance.
Okay.
He's doing Doom Patrol, which his Doom Patrol run is fucking great.
Grant Morrison wrote Doom Patrol back in the days.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And this is very much picking up along those same lines.
Oh, cool. Do you mind briefly? The thing I really like about Doom Patrol is Doom Patrol was a DC comic back in the old days.
Yeah.
When Grant Morrison brought it back, it was with the explicit idea that like there are forces out there that are so insane that regular superheroes can't deal with it. So you've got a team of kind of insane superheroes to deal with the really hardcore insanity that's happening.
And what's really cool is there's currently a mini crossover between the Young Animal line and DC Comics that's going on right called Milk Wars, which is basically in the Young Animal line. There is a villain company called Retcon that has found its way into the DC universe and is retconning all of the DC universe characters and also retconning all of the Young Animal characters into like just completely rewriting them.
Okay.
And it's these characters realizing they're being like Superman gets turned into kind of a psychopathic milkman.
Okay.
And Batman gets turned into like a preacher.
Okay.
Like this this bat centric preacher. Wonder Woman's like a housewife.
Okay.
And it like really kind of deconstructs about what the characters are, what they're doing, and what makes them, what makes them so special.
Okay.
And it's really getting a lot of it's weird and crazy. It's awesome.
Okay. I think it's enough. We got one more question, and then we're going to wrap it up. This one comes in from Brandon. Brandon says, hello, Rage Gods. One of the Brandons here with one of the questions that you crave. This one is mainly for Jeff, but all answers are welcome. If you weren't doing Rage Select, what games in 2018 would you want to buy for 60 big ones? Thanks for all hard work, and that's from Brandon. So John, I actually feel like this is a perfectly tailor-made question for you. So,
well, because I only buy the games I want to buy.
Exactly, yeah. So, of the games that this is always really difficult just because I always forget the games that are coming out, right?
Yeah.
Like the whole full list.
Well, I mean, I want to buy Yakuza 6.
Yeah.
I want to buy...
Have you purchased anything yet this year?
Yeah, I mean, I've purchased a few things this year. I mean, I bought the Bayonetta 1 and 2 thing. I bought Puyo Puyo Tetris. No, I bought that before Christmas.
Far Cry 5?
I am kind of looking forward to Far Cry 5, and it's weird because I'm not a huge fan of Far Cry games.
Okay.
But I'm kind of looking into getting Far Cry 5. It's speaking my language a little bit with some of the stuff I've been seeing. I kind of want to play the new God of War game.
Mm-hmm.
That one looks good. I'm looking forward to whatever Valkyria Chronicles game, Valkyria Chronicles 4 comes out.
State of Decay 2?
Nah, I'm not big on... I didn't really care for State of Decay.
Okay. I'm trying to think. I'm looking through a listing here of different games that are supposed to be coming out this year.
I'm looking forward to the new Mega Man game.
SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy?
No.
No?
No. But I'm looking, like I said, I'm looking forward to the new Mega Man game that's going to come out. I'm looking forward to that new Spider-Man game.
Red Dead 2?
Red Dead. Oh, fuck yeah, it's Red Dead 2. Like that one, you don't even have to ask.
Well, I don't know. Let's see. Code Vein, Fantasy Strike, Battlefield Gothic Armada, The Last Night, Detroit Become Human, Days Gone.
So I'll probably end up buying Detroit Become Human because I have bought every other Quantic Dream game. And I do enjoy playing them. But
Age of Empires Below, Witchfire.
I kind of am interested in that Call of Cthulhu game that's supposed to be coming out that I don't really know a lot of information about.
Yeah. To be honest, okay, I think this is easier for me to lay out.
I buy a lot of games. Like even before I was like coming over here to Rage Select doing stuff, I buy games. I buy a lot of games.
So the way that I would do it was I would pick the tippy top that appealed to me. And usually back before Rage Select, I was doing, I had a GameFly membership. And so I would basically do it through get a game, try it out. If I like it, hit the keep it now button.
Yeah.
If not, send it back, get the next one on the list. And for me, mostly it was, I never used to just go to the store and buy like a $60 game because, you know, when I say on this show, like, hey, just wait for it to go on sale, I mean that shit. Like, for you at home who don't have to put up a fucking dojo video, like, wait for that shit to go on sale. I mean, it goes on sale so quickly these days that, like, you know, it's so easy. If you could just get out of the mindset of being right there at the forefront of every brand new thing that comes out, you can get plenty of stuff. So, as always, what I would do in the olden days before I felt beholden to play everything that came out was that I would look for a game like Persona 5, and I would get Persona 5, and then I would play only Persona 5 for a while until I got bored of it. By the time I got bored of it, enough other games had come out that I could then go back and get those either on sale, or I could put them in a GameFly queue and get them when the availability had become more accessible because everybody had already fucking stampeded through it. And then, you know, if you can get yourself a buffer with a longer game, like, I don't know, I look online, and one of my best friends, the guy that introduced me to Demon Souls, he's playing that Kingdom Come Deliverance game. I'm not really super interested in Kingdom Come Deliverance. It looks a little bit, but for him, that's like right up his alley, and that's the sort of thing that has a long timeline. Like, I never would have bought Metal Gear Survive if I was shelling out my own cash money, because it just doesn't look like it's good enough for that. On the other hand, you know what? If I was shelling out my own cash money and I wasn't running Rage Select, I probably wouldn't buy Yakuza 6 until it was on sale, because that's one that I can wait on. Like, I like the Yakuza games, but I've never just been like, oh, God, there's a new Yakuza game out. I got to go get it right now. I got to go get it. Like, in general, outside of things like Metal Gear and, okay, Death Stranding and whatever that new From Software game is, those would be games where I would be at the store on day one to spend a full unadulterated $60 on them. Most of the rest of the stuff that even you can see on this installed on my PlayStation right now, I'd be willing to wait. You know, Moss came out last week. We're going to play that, and or by this time we'll already have had a video up for it. It was $40. More than willing to wait for that to come down to like $15 or $10 or whatever. More than willing to wait for that stuff to go on sale. Like, Into the Breach was interesting, but I'd be more than willing to wait for it to go on sale. So
I'm Into the Breach, I'm willing to wait for it to come out on either iPad or Switch or
that game
Xbox or Sony or something.
That game is dangerous. I've lost several hours to Into the Breach, which is like, I'm just going to do one island, and then I'll get back to work. And then, I don't know why I'm Mickey Mouse when I do it, but anyway, Into the Breach is actually very good, and everybody should go buy it because it's fucking incredible. But yeah, for the most part, I guess my answer is I don't buy that many brand new games. I'm more of a bargain hunting, or before Rage Select, I was more of a bargain hunting gamer. And if I did buy a game for $60, I wanted to be assured that it was a game that was going to last for a significant amount of time, rather than something that was just going to be like, you know, boop and then done. So. And that's our show for this week.
Yes.
Mail@rageselect.com is the email address that you can write your questions into. Please feel free to write whatever you like. Sometimes we get hypotheticals. Sometimes we get gaming questions. Sometimes we give some life advice. But whatever we do, it's always... I didn't have an end to that sentence when I started it, so...
Good job.